OBS. So it looks like we're live right now. So yeah, we're live right now. Yeah. So if you want to get prepared, just leave the intro go for like about, I don't know. I need to make a new intro.
Hey.
All right, you're live, RJ. You're good to go.
Cool. Greetings. That was one great intro, as always. Did I know what it was? No idea. No idea. You know what? You could run it. You could actually run an intro that says RJ Vaughn's a complete schmuck, and I would be like, "Hey, everybody, how's it going?" You know, it'd be like not totally unaware that there was ever a problem at all.
Yeah, the knuckleheads are filing in right now.
Good. Let them file for a minute. Hold on, I'm fixing my phone.
All right, well, I'll go ahead and let you fix your phone, and I'll go ahead and welcome all the knuckleheads in the house. Easy.
Knuckleheads. Go ahead.
Easy 808. Welcome.
I got to catch up to the live stream. See, it hasn't hit my old computer yet. So, you know, that's always there. It is.
You got that Dell computer?
Yeah, I got that. Yeah, I got that tin can and a string computer.
Okay.
The ThinkPad.
There you go.
All right, so let's get this. I always detach this here. Pop out the conversation. All right. Did I hear myself? Don't want to do that. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, that was me. I had the phone on because I use my phone as just to keep up with the chat. I stop it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm doing this now. I'm not even gonna look at it. I'm just looking at the chat. Easy 808. Welcome to the show, Stephen Perry. Welcome to the show. How do you pronounce you're mad? You're mad. Laugh out loud. Okay. Welcome to the show. Damn. Sport Savant 23, welcome to the show. Well, we got all kinds of new names in here. This is nice. Welcome to the JMKAZE show. This is the weekly show where we get the knuckleheads together to talk about things regarding the Tupac and the Biggie investigation. This is what we do. What we don't do, and we do talk about some of Tupac's music, and we talk about Pac's life a little bit. We talk about Biggie's life a little bit, but really, this is not a fan site in the sense that we go in and we critique one song or changes or Unconditional Love, or talk about whether or not the realist was actually on Unconditional Love. We actually talk about the investigation. That's what we do on the show, and it seems to work well for us in that regard. So having said that, glad that you are here. Obviously, everybody, welcome. You'll be sleeping in no time, Stephen Perry. Yeah, the stream will be watching me. Yeah. Well, Stephen Perry, that's okay. You must be on what time? England time? What time are you on? Because it's 7 o'clock here, 9 o'clock Central Time, which means in Eastern Time it's only 10 o'clock. So unless you're getting up and 3 o'clock in the morning and going to work, you should still be awake, I would think anyway. Well, but what do I know, right?
Yeah, he might be the night watchman at his job, but
yeah, exactly. Do you work at Suge Knight's old house? Do you work at the night security there for Suge Knight's old place?
He works. Maybe he works Allied Security there at the.
Yeah, Allied Security. That's with Kevin Hackey at Allied Security. Oh, Kevin, why do I jest so? Okay, all right. Well, listen, let's get right to it. I wanted to talk for a couple of minutes about an article that came up in Mirror. Okay, and it's bad enough when you have to battle people that just want to put out disinformation, but there's kind of another category. There's disinformation and then there's misinformation. And one of the things that really gets me about misinformation is you just leave your head scratching to think if they did just a minute just a minute of actual work and actually thought about what they were saying and what they were writing, or at least tried to do some sort of freaking due diligence on this stuff, you would think that they would actually, not print some of the things that they print. So, and of course, because they say, well, it came from this person or it came from that person, then it gets in the excuse that they get away with printing nonsense because they're just crediting somebody else, and which shows they have absolutely no. But I call that journalism. They're journalism all over the place. Okay, so that's what they're doing, journalism all over the place. All right. In this particular case, the victim from the week is the UK Mirror, and the UK Mirror. Well, that's really a cool background when it's blurred like that, huh? It's kind of like got this weird heavenly haze. It's kind of interesting. All right. The UK Mirror puts this out, and Kazi, feel free to put it up when you want to, but they're talking about conspiracy theories, and they're talking about the Tupac case, and it says final hours before Tupac Shakur's shocking murder and why conspiracy theories persist. Well, what's really interesting to me is that through this entire article written by Nika Shakaraka however you pronounce that, Shakanana, Shanana Navarosa, Nana Nana Bana, Banana Rama, Fofama, Fee Five, Fofama, Shakaraka Nova Nama. When you get these people that write these articles, why conspiracy theories persist? Well, they persist because it's an unsolved crime. And I don't know what they mean by a conspiracy theory, other than maybe they are saying that there is a conspiracy of people that did it. I don't know. I still can't figure out why they call them conspiracy theories, because unless you're saying that somebody conspired with somebody else, which I'm not sure we are or aren't, that they're definitely theories, but they persist because hasn't been solved. Okay, they're treating it like it's a foregone conclusion that the case has already been solved. Sorry, Nika Shakalaka Naka, that the case ain't solved yet. Okay, the standard of proof has not risen to a conviction level. Case not solved. Period. Orlando Anderson didn't do it. Okay, had an alibi. Las Vegas police, check it out. Ask it yourself. All right. But anyway, they get this rapper was 25 when he was shot 4 times, twice in the chest, 1 in the arm, and 1 in the thigh, as he pulled up outside a nightclub in Las Vegas. All right. And then he says, okay, so they admit already that he was shot 4 times, twice in the chest. Okay? So we know that. And then she says, or he, I don't know if it's a he or she, I shouldn't, depending on how they feel that day nowadays, he or she, just depends on how you feel. The rapper was 25 when he was shot 4 times, and outside a club with Def Records boss Suge Knight. And then they go on to say that he spent 6 days in a coma, and then dying of internal bleeding, but not so according to Suge Knight, who in the documentary Who Shot Biggie and Tupac declared, I mean, when I left that hospital, me and Pac were laughing and joking. Okay? All right. So I don't see how somebody could turn from doing well to doing bad. Okay? Listen. That's a freaking lie, okay? Suge Knight, you liar, okay? I'm going to call you out on that. You are a liar, sir, because no one was laughing or joking. The last thing that Tupac was heard by cops saying as he was being put into an ambulance is, I can't breathe. Funny, okay? Laughing and joking, I can't breathe. When he got to the hospital, he had lung injuries. He was shot in the lung, tore his lung up. The minute they got to that hospital, they stuck an incubator tooth down his throat for 2 reasons. Number one, he was right. He couldn't breathe. And second, they do that because they've got to siphon out all the fluid that's building out in the lungs from the wounds. As the body starts to react to the gunshot wound to the lungs begin to fill up with fluid. So they have to drain the fluid. Eventually, they stick you under the lung to drain the fluid that way. But he had a tube down his throat, okay? That's the bottom line. So I'm not sure how anybody could be laughing and joking. And by the way, when I left that hospital, Suge left that hospital like 6 o'clock in the morning, okay? He was there for like maybe 6 hours, maybe. And basically that's like if you have a sore throat, you're in there and you're out. They didn't bother to keep him in. They didn't check him in. They kicked his ass out the door 6 a.m. So when he left the hospital, he was talking. He and Pac were laughing and joking. They were fighting to save his life at that point. Okay, and the fact that he would even put this out there is just so fucking ignorant. It just makes me mad because for a long time in Battle for Compton and everything like that, we've been trying to play nice with Suge and act like Suge's been the victim and all this, and then he does dumb shit like this and says, I mean, when I left the hospital, me and Pac were laughing and joking. Okay, well, bottom line here, no one was laughing, no one was joking. Even the footage of Suge Knight walking around in front of the hospital, he didn't look like he was in any kind of laughing matter either. Okay, so for him to sit there and say that they were laughing and joking, and then these idiots at the UK Mirror, they don't bother to do anything themselves to try to investigate anything. Now, as opposed to that, like you take the Sun, the UK Sun, UK Mirror, UK Sun, kind of the same ilk. They're both kind of tabloidy newspapers. But I know when I send something off to John Lockett, who's a reporter at the Sun, they at least ask questions about it, they vet it, they put things out, and at least there is some truth to it, or at least they check it out. But at the end of the day, to quote Suge from the Who Shot Biggie and Tupac, that travesty of a documentary that I was part of, that travesty, the fact that they would even put that out to begin with is just horse crap. And so because we always try to back up the things that we say with actual facts, testimony, and truth, Kazi, go ahead and just run that video. What we got for you is none other than Mopreme Shakur talking about Tupac's condition at the hospital. Take it away, Kazi.
All right. Well, before we do that, I got to get it up here, running and going. But just to,
you got to get it up?
Just got to get it up.
That sounds like a personal problem to me.
But just to,
we're gonna say a few shout outs while you're getting that ready there. Okay.
Well,
we're gonna say I Buy Houses. Welcome to the show. Knuckleheads in the house. I Buy Houses. I love it. H.G. Wells, ripping happy R.I.P. and happy birthday, Tupac. Yep, absolutely. Let's see here. Yeezy 108, we already said hello to, but I'll say hello again. He deserves it twice. Let's see here. Easy Boy Sonny, welcome. Yo, yo, yo. All right. Jason Bauer, what's up? What's up? What's up? Glad you could make it. Let's see here. And H.G. Wells, it was Fatal's gun. Gaddafi said the driver wears baseball cap. Fatal wore all those. Yeah, so yeah. Now we have a new conspiracy theory. Fatal shot him. Okay, that's all right. All right. So let's see here. Let's see. There you go. Yes, he's got the 4 people in the car. As Mopreme is the shooter, Fatal's the driver, Sky is the passenger, Napoleon's behind the passenger. That's it. We figured it out.
Yeah.
Jimmy Parsons, welcome to the show. That's it. We're going to stop now because we figured it out by now. So
question for you on the, before I play the video, I got it up and running, but before I play the video, where did the author of this article, where do they get their information from? Do they just make this story up on their own, or do they get this from like broken pieces of information?
Apparently they were scrounging through the pile looking for, well, I think actually how they pick their subjects is they've got like this random series of Post-it notes on a dartboard, and they just put a blindfold on and they throw a dart at it, and it hits Tupac. Okay. And then they throw another dart, and it says, is alive. Okay. And then that's the article. And then they go and find something that they can base that off of. I mean, this is not news. Where's the news here? Something that happened on Who Shot Biggie and Tupac? And funny thing about this damn article is that no one bothers to say that, number one, this show came out like a year ago, but not only that, but nobody actually answers that question. Why do conspiracy theories persist? They don't talk to anybody about that. They don't ask anybody why conspiracy. They certainly didn't call me and ask, because if I'm supposed to be like this big conspiracy theorist, if they really want to put an article out and says, why do conspiracy theories exist? Why do they persist so much? You'd think they would call somebody that they consider a conspiracy theorist and like ask them that question. But, not Nika Shakalaka Ding Dong. We'll just go look at a year-old documentary and we'll just use that as base for articles. So no, I don't think that there's any news. And the sad part about it is if you look down the side of this newspaper, you've got other articles there that actually are like about things that are happening right now. So, but unless it's Tupac, then, Tupac dead. 3 of the wildest conspiracies. I actually didn't even watch that video to find out what those 3 conspiracies are. I don't think ours is one of them, which might be good. Maybe we're kind of getting out of the conspiracy theory thing and getting into like the real investigation shit. That would be kind of fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
All right.
Ready for that video?
Let's see. Yeah, of course.
All right.
Yeah, go.
Well, here we go.
Here we go.
He wasn't. They put him. They put Pac on a self-induced coma to deal with his lungs back and forth. So he was in and out of consciousness. I got to see him while he was conscious.
Did you get to talk? Or?
No, he had tubes in him and he couldn't talk. He wasn't. They put him. They put Pac on a self-induced coma to deal with his lungs back and forth. So he was in and out of consciousness. I got to see him while he was conscious.
Did you get to talk? Or?
No, he had tubes in him and he couldn't talk. He wasn't. They put him.
All right, shut it off.
All right.
So, what do you think? I mean, we hear it 5 times. You'll say the same thing over
Yeah.
and over again. But here's the thing. Does that sound like anybody was laughing or joking? I mean, even Mopreme wasn't even laughing or joking. Talk about it, okay? I mean, ultimately, the bottom line here is that they quoted a lie. Now, they're not going to take any responsibility saying it because they're going to source who shot Biggie and Tupac and the fact that Suge Knight said it. But why would you perpetuate a lie? Why, for the sake of news or clicks, would Nika Shakaraka Ding Dong actually keep perpetuating a lie? Okay? A little due diligence. I mean, it would have been interesting, though, as if they would have said right after this quote, they would have said, well, research shows that Tupac Shakur had a tube down his throat and was draining liquid out of his lungs, so it's very unlikely that this might, while entertaining, it's very unlikely that this happened this way. Okay, now you have journalistic credibility, but I give negative comments to Nika Shakarakadaka, and that's why it only had 32 shares after being out for several days. I was not one of the people that shared it, but ultimately, you know, it's just lazy reporting. It's bad reporting, and we got to call them out when we see it, because these guys, knuckleheads, these are the things that get in the way of legitimate investigations. Okay. So that's what we want to. That's what we want to deal with here. A couple more quick shout outs on this. Jimmy Parson asked a question here, but we'll get that in just a second. Taking a look at that. Okay, so Stephen Perry asked a question, and let's see. Here we go. Here. Yes, Stephen Perry, you're right. I got to go back up a little way. Sorry about that, guys. Let's see here. Set Shakur fainted and collapsed at the protest after her speech in Marin City. Yes, she did. That was very dramatic, wasn't it? She fainted and collapsed, and but I understand she's very emotional, and you can do that, I guess. But you know, you can get wrapped up in your cause too, so it's all right. Yeezy says the only way you go from good to bad is if Pac was taken out in the hospital. Yeah, really. Well, that could make it worse, wouldn't it? All right. Stephen Perry says, why no blood in the pictures of the BMW? No blood on the ground either. It's weird. What the hell really happened?
There was blood in the car.
There was blood. Yeah, there was blood in the car, and there was blood on there. You know, maybe we can find the footage of the crime scene itself where it happened. There was a fair amount of blood there. So, you know, I think by the time you saw the pictures when it was an impound, I think they'd cleaned it up a little bit, wiped it up. There was still a bloody towel. I think when they were, even now that they're selling the car, I think that they're even including the bloody towel with the car.
Wow.
It's kind of gross. Yeah, exactly. I was like, was that, a bonus? I don't know. Let's see here. H.G. Wells, Tupac's last words was F you like Fula. H.G. Wells, how do you know that? Okay. Chris Carroll, the bike cop, the guy that came around years later and said that was his last words. I don't think so. And yeah, I am calling bullshit on Chris Carroll because I don't know this fucking guy. I mean, he's a Vegas cop. Okay, I don't know this guy from Adam. I don't know who he is. You know, I don't know. Just what cops never lie, right? Yeah, okay. Gee, color me strange on that. Cops never lie. This guy comes up and it's like 20 years later, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I saw Tupac. I was pedaling my bike around. I had to give Greg Kading back the uniform I loaned him, but I pedaled around on my bike for a little bit, and I came up there, and Tupac says, F you." Well, actually, that actually contradicts what most of the other witnesses said. The most common thing that we've heard that Tupac has said, he said, "I can't breathe." Okay, now if he flipped him off, he said, "Who shot you?" and he flipped him off, maybe he did. But Tupac wasn't doing a lot of talking because he was too busy trying to freaking breathe. Okay, guys, let's understand what was going on like that, okay? So ultimately, like I said, H.G. Wells, don't know that for sure. That comes from one person. There hasn't been a single other person, by the way, of everybody that was there, not a single other person has corroborated what this one bike cop said that Tupac said to a bunch of people. And by the way, who the hell is the bike cop that he's going to start asking Tupac, "Who shot you? Who shot you?" Really? What was he, like super cop? He just ran in behind the lines, got off his bike, parked it over in the little bike rack, walked over and went past all the detectives, that the real guys that are asking the questions, and got right down to it as they're wheeling Pac away and said, "Hey, who shot you?" Okay, really?
Sounds like a.
I have to go back and read his accounting of shit
All
again.
right.
Okay, but that's what it sounds like to me. Sounds like he parked his little bike there, and he went past all the detectives that are really trying to ask questions, and then of course that's what Tupac said, and he's the only person that heard Tupac say that, apparently.
All right. So RJ, I forgot to mention. Okay, I got the photo for the blood on the seat. It kind of seems like maybe someone's playing a little game, but beyond that, I just wanted to say, and not that we didn't forget, but happy birthday, Tupac, 49th birthday yesterday, June 16th. So that was
Right.
mentioned. I'm sure
Happy birthday to Tupac.
people celebrated in their own way.
I'll tell you one of the saddest things is, of course, they wouldn't have been able to do it this year, that's for sure. But I think one of the saddest things that I saw in my travails in relationship with the estate and all that is that in 2008, they tried to do something really unique at the Tupac Shakur Foundation. This is when they still had that little strip mall place with the statue and the fountain and stuff like that. And I was there at the first and the second annual parties, but they actually tried to put together an annual Tupac Shakur birthday celebration. And, I would say, and no offense to the estate, no offense to Afeni, no offense to anybody there, but how could you blow that? Okay, when you think about it, you're in Atlanta, you have the estate of one of the greatest rappers of all time, and you have a year to plan a birthday celebration for that rapper. You have a whole parking lot, you've got a whole park, literally that whole park, the Peace Garden, all that area there. You've got basically like 2 free acres of land that you could set up freaking Tupacalooza if you wanted to, and put that on, and yet by the third one of them or fourth one of the celebrations, it was over. It was over. I mean, the first one was fantastic. We went down there and we had the Outlaws were there. I was there. Frank couldn't make it. He was in LA. I was a little bit closer when I lived in the Midwest, so it was easy for me to get down there. I brought boxes and boxes of our DVDs to give away, and gave the rest to the store. They had a little gift shop there, and gave them to the gift shop to sell to raise money for the foundation. And so we had all of that, and we had the first year there that the Outlaws got up there, did some stuff. That was a big thing. The second year, I think the Outlaws got up there, and they had some acts that came in. They were local acts. And the second year, they had a stage. It was better than the first year. And, you figured, well, you give it a couple of years, it's going to gain a following, get a momentum going. They'll get more and more people, and they plan it right and they do it right. You know, and 4 years into it, it's a complete bust out. I mean, how do you screw that up? How do you not make that work? I mean, maybe I don't know enough about party planning, maybe I don't know enough about that, but I would think Tupac is enough of a draw that if you gave people enough time to be there, I mean, they get people to come to the park for like free movie Friday, where all you got to do is you got to go to the park and they put up a blow up screen and they show a movie that's like 30 years old, like Airplane or some shit like that. And they put it out there and you watch the movie and everybody's there, but you get thousands of people that come to these things. And it's like, here you are in Stone Mountain, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta. You got all this time in the world to promote it. And it's Tupac. The estate's going to be there. The Outlaws are going to be there. People are going to be there. For some reason, after 3 or 4 years, kaput, they were done. They called it quits. And it's just a shame to me because I went to the first couple of them. And it was actually at the first one that I met Afeni, that I had a chance to talk to Afeni, sit down with her for a minute, talk about some things that we both needed to talk about, some things we needed to say. We actually had an opportunity. She signed my poster, which is always fantastic. I keep talking about my poster. What I'll do is I'll take a nice photograph of the poster. And, big kind of fun, Kazi. Maybe I should make like lithographs. They do that where they make like imitations of the poster.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I got Afeni signing it. I got Shock G signing it. I got Glow signing it. I got Adrian Gregory signing it. I got the Outlaws signing it. I mean, shit, I got a lot of people signed on this poster. And maybe we should make some lithographs of that and put them out. That would be kind of fun, give them away to people so that they also can have a signed autographed poster, autographed by Tupac's mom. I mean, how much cooler does it get than that?
Give it to the comment of the night. Question of the night, rather. Question of the night.
Question of the night. Change the start time?
No.
To 8?
No, but thank you, Stephen Perry, for the...
Thank you for the super chat. That's awesome. And you know what? I do think that might not be a bad idea. Maybe we'll work to that next week. Let's try to hook it for 8 p.m. rather than 9.
And then
Does that sound okay?
Yeah, and then for an extra 20, Stephen, we'll move it up till 5 p.m. Central. No, I'm just No, I'm just joking around.
Get up at 6 p.m. and do the 5 years. Throw enough money at us. Yeah, we do that.
Yeah.
So
no, was H.G. Wells saying that the Outlaws killed Tupac? I think that's what I was reading here because I'm telling him he's way off. But I think there's a comment. What did he put here? He put that the Outlaws killed Pac. She hates them and they killed her son and said it was an accident.
Well, there's no love lost between Yasmin Fula and the other members of the Outlaws.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, there is no love lost there. I know that. Maybe over years there's been some forgiveness and things like that, but I mean, everything points to the fact that one of Mutabil's relatives was involved with the shooting in some way or another. We don't really know much about it, but she certainly blames them, much in the same way that Tupac blamed Biggie for getting shot at Quad Studios. I mean, maybe you're saying even if you didn't pull the trigger yourself, your responsibility there for somebody who's got some status or notoriety or is a guest, plain and simple, you should be looking out and watch their backs. The fact that this kid opened up the door and got shot in the face, I mean, after being asked, are you wearing your vest? He says yes, and they shoot him in the face. I mean, that's hardcore, okay? So, and if you're in a kind of neighborhood where that's a daily occurrence, when you gotta kind of like look through your Ring device to see who's at the door, right, because you could get shot in the face, then even more the reason why you would want somebody to be there that would watch your back. So I don't blame the Yasmin Fula for being mad at Muta or the Outlaws or the others, because again, it was certainly something that should have been a situation where he was supervised a little bit better.
Yeah.
People were looking out for him, especially if he was in that bad of a
Well, I made the video on that, okay, but the only thing that, unless he mistyped it here, he's saying that the Outlaws killed Tupac, which that's what I commented back. Way off. The Outlaws did not.
Oh, he's just playing. He's just playing. He's not being serious. He's just.
That's what I'm thinking.
He jumped into goof for a little bit, but H.G. Wells, you can jump back in your time machine again. Go back to the time when you made sense.
Yeah.
You know, that's all right. So we'll do that. But and he's smiling a minute. Everybody's laughing. It's good. You know.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, you know, and I try to balance that out because we don't want to do a show that's too goofy.
Yeah.
But we definitely want to make it a little bit light because we got enough problems going on in the world right
Yeah.
now. I don't know. Did they now, Kazi, out where you're at? Did they make the mandatory order that you had to wear a face mask?
Well, that's in Austin, Texas. They're making it mandatory, and well, the state of Texas. I mean, because you know, it's not, it can't supersede the governor's, you know, whatever you want to call it, his law or you know, some
Right.
people
Right.
don't respect law, so call it what you want, demand or whatever. But
Right.
yeah, so there's some mayors and some cities that are saying we're gonna just bypass the governor's, you know, authority and we're gonna just do our own thing. So yeah, I mean, I guess so. I mean, I wear one regardless, just because it's not because I care for it. I wear it so that I respect other people's, you know, space and whatnot. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, in California here, all the counties started telling everybody they didn't have to wear masks anymore, and then lo and behold, boom, governor steps in, and the governor's like, everybody in the state of California now's got to wear a mask.
Mm-hmm.
Really? Well, and in related news, bank robberies just went up by a factor of 10.
You got
I mean, isn't that the whole reason? Kind of facial recognition kind of went out the window. Now, how are they going to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, looks like he had a scar on one of his eyebrows. You know, the third pimple to the right on his forehead looked kind of suspicious to me. Only because what else are you going to look at? If half your facial features are gone because you got this much of your face covered up, maybe except for like this, what the hell are you going to look at? How are you going to know who robbed the bank? David Mack, you know, back again. And that fool didn't even wear a mask when he robbed the bank.
Yeah, I think he's
So,
going to come out of retirement right now.
Yeah, exactly. Now that it's mandatory, you got to wear a mask. Here it comes for the retirement tour. You know.
So I have that photo. Whoever was saying, and I think like I said, it might be games and a charade here, but I got the picture of the blood on the seat.
Yeah, put it up.
I'm gonna go ahead and transition into that. But so you have to wear a mask where you're at right now.
Yeah, I mean well, I mean not in the house. I mean it'd be kind of stupid if I had to wear a mask. Like, can you imagine? Okay, for today's live show, we're gonna talk about. Yeah, okay, that would make a.
Wear it on the next live stream.
Yeah, my mask. Yeah, I don't have a fancy one. I actually do have a fancy one. I don't wear it. I wear the surgical masks. The you know, just those blue doctor's mask. Look like you're ready to operate on somebody.
You're not. You mean to tell me you're not wearing that mask that you wore when you hid your whole face? Remember when they did the Who Killed Tupac and they had that guy come out that had the.
I forgot about that. Yeah, I forgot that they had the guy come out and he was like covered from head to toe. Look like he was wearing a burqa. You know, it was just a set of eyes. You know, the mystery.
He had the glasses with the bouncing eyeballs.
Don't want to do this. Yeah.
All right. Well, there's that photo there. So if you want to.
Yeah, let me see the photo. What do we got there? Yeah. You can't say there wasn't any blood on the seat. That's pretty much it, just all by itself, don't you think? I mean, that's what it looks like. What it looks like to me. Looks like there's some serious blood in the saddle there.
Unless Michael Nice was playing with McDonald's ketchup again.
Yeah, well, that was before he got him out of the car, I suppose.
Yeah.
You know, no, when I talked to the guys in Vegas that are selling the BMW. One of the questions I asked them, because remember, there's always been this whole thing about the gun compartment. The first time I had ever heard about the gun compartment was actually from Death Row Days.
Yeah.
Okay, it was years before Reggie even talked about it. That they had put a gun compartment in the BMW, and then when Reggie confirmed that it was in there. Whether or not you believe his story that they got the guns out. My question was, did the people that are selling the BMW actually know that there was actually a compartment with the guns?
Yeah.
Because wouldn't it have been cool? I mean, think about what a great find that would have been if you call these guys up that are selling the BMW like 20 years later, like, hey, I'd like to come out and look at the BMW for a minute because we think there's like a drop box that may actually still have some 1996 guns in them. You know, and then they, oh yeah, really? And you look in the car, tear it apart, and find out, sure enough, there they are. You know, regardless, I would have gone if the guys who were selling the BMW wouldn't have told me that, yeah, they knew that there had been, but it had been taken out and everything had been kind of put back to factory spec again. If they hadn't told me that they knew about it, I would have been the first person to go out there and actually, I don't care if Reggie said that they took the guns out or not. I would have liked to have seen that and verified that the people that had it knew. Because wouldn't it have been cool? You call the guy up on the phone and like, hey man, do you know there's a drop box in there? No, mate, there's a drop box in there. Really? Cheerio, chip chip. You know, they were English guys. That were
So let's do this. Let's set the record straight. Whose car was this? Was this a rental or is this a purchased vehicle?
No. This was a car that was bought by Suge or leased by Suge, however you want to look. Well, Suge probably didn't buy jack shit. He leased everything. That's why death row bankruptcy, everything got taken away because they didn't own anything. But you know, it's funny with all that money, and this is why I always keep saying that there's a rat in the woodpile when it comes to the real accounting of how much money they really had. Because when you think about it, if you really had that much money, if you had millions of dollars flowing through your organization, paying cash for a car, I mean, I know they pay cash for other cars, about little Chevelles and things like that. They didn't finance all of that, so they did that. So, you know, so I don't know if they bought this or not, but it's funny, but so much of what Tupac had was leased. I mean, you know, but they did pay cash for some stuff. But if they really had that kind of money, yeah, I saw that. That is the BMW all fixed up and ready to sell there. If you got $1 million to spend on an old car, that's what you get.
Where was it at this whole time though? I mean, it got impounded, but where was it at?
It was out of the impound yard. No. There was some dudes driving around. We ran the VIN on it, and the car had been around. It had been down in like South San Diego, almost to like Tijuana. It was an old beater car. I mean, they sold it off the the impound place. Some people bought it. They fixed it up. They sold it off, and then it ran around for years down in San Diego. Got a bunch of miles on it and everything, and then finally got bought by these guys, probably when it was, you know, almost inoperable at that point. And then they brought it up there and they fixed it up, and now suddenly it's a collector's item. And strangely enough, there's a lot of collectors out there, but nobody seems to want to pay $1.2 million for a car that's got over 100,000 miles on it. So, you know, that's kind of how that's been. Although they still say that there's some bullet holes in the car itself. I mean, now that maybe what I can do, maybe we'll do that over the summer. I had promised the knuckleheads, I'd promised the gang that I would do some remotes. Maybe I can go over there to the place that's selling this and do a little remote right there and take a look at the car and like get my camera right down into it.
Take a test drive.
Take a look at this. Dude. Well, that would be more fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we'll do a test drive. You'll be Suge and I'll be Tupac, and we'll go down.
We'll drive the Flamingo Cobalt and leave the car there. All right, or actually what we'll do is we'll jump the curb at Las Vegas and Harmon, and we'll just strand the car and go away by ambulance. We could do that. That would be fun. Yeah. But I just think it'd be fun just to go there and you know, see the car and talk to the guys who have it. So maybe we'll do that. That'd be kind of fun.
Have they gotten any offers for the car that you're aware of?
No, I don't think so. No, especially not with what they're asking for. And then again, sometimes that's the point, isn't it? You know, they put a real high price tag on it. They really don't want to sell it, but they want to put it out there and publicize it. So they put it up for sale, and they can never find anybody to buy it because they really don't want to sell it.
Okay, gotcha.
Otherwise, it would be like on, you know, Carfax.com with the cars for sale. You know, put it out there, $10,000 for this car. That's about all it's really.
Yeah,
worth.
I think we got some comments. So I don't know if you want to.
People have more comments.
People have questions and comments, man. The knuckleheads, they never stop. The knuckleheads keep going.
I like it, man. Knuckleheads salute. Knucklehead salute. All right. So now, you know, I better do it like this, right? If I do anything and raise one hand, they're going to call me a racist and say I'm maybe like acting like Hitler. Yeah. You know, yeah. Knucklehead salute. All right. Let's see. All right. Guillavito, welcome to the show. I know that's a name I keep tripping over, so welcome. That would be fire. Yep. Move the guns. Yeah, I think it would be cool too. Maybe I'll just do that. That would be kind of fun. Show the blood on the ground, Stephen Perry says. Stephen Perry's being very
Tupac alive-ish.
very
Tupac got away in the helicopter.
in the helicopter. Show the blood. No blood, no death.
Well, let's talk about
Right?
that real quick, RJ. Because you know that
Yeah.
the story is that I guess, and you might be able to correct me on this, but when they took him out of the car, they set him on the ground, like the street, the pavement. Is that where they put him, or they put him like on a piece of grass or something that was near?
What are you talking about? When they say that the cops came up and put everybody on the ground when Frank Alexander says
No,
that? When he says
what I mean is when they pulled Tupac out of the car, right? And
Right.
they laid him on the street on the
Oh, absolutely.
okay.
Well, first off, there's no city park around that they're going to
Yeah,
take him
but
to. And besides, when they're just getting somebody out of the car and they're trying to, because the cops are there, they're first responders, they are EMT trained,
Mhm.
so they can see what he needs. No, they're gonna lay him down flat so that they can see what's wrong with him, how he's responding. Obviously, if you don't lay him down flat, he's hunched over, he could be bleeding more. There's a lot of reasons you do that, but you lay him down
Mhm.
flat, and it wasn't any time at all before the ambulances were there, 911. I mean, you're talking about the Las Vegas Strip during the middle of one of the busiest nights of
Yeah.
the year, and so there's going to be EMTs, paramedics, in that right within a quarter of a mile of where they
Did
were. So
did
definitely,
did Frank
there's
did
definitely
Frank ever tell you that? Because you know how they have that one picture where they show the BMW, and I guess what people are trying to say is that there's no blood on the pavement. So did Frank Alexander ever tell you that when they took that, or if he was around, I don't know if he was, but when they took those pictures for evidence value, was that they already had cleaned the floor up, or did any blood even leak onto the street?
Well, let's put it this way. Frank's recollection of the event was that Suge, in his words, had blood gushing from his head.
Okay.
Okay. And as we know, head wounds are particularly bad because you have so many capillaries in your scalp and all that, that if you get grazed or you get a head wound and you hit a capillary or a vein, you can spurt blood all over the place. It's arterial spray. It'll just kind of pump it out. And so yeah, there would have been blood on the car, there'd been blood on the ground. Again, but it's at night.
No, Tupac
I mean,
though.
it's after midnight, it's dark. Well, Tupac too. But the thing was, Tupac had a lot of clothes on. If you got shot in the lungs and you're bleeding out your lungs, I mean, unless it was a through and through, and there was no indication that it was a through and through, there's nowhere to vent it. Now, if it had been vented, like a bullet had gone all the way through his back and gone out and made a clean out, then you would have had a vent where the liquid would have gotten air and the air would have made the liquid travel. But normally when you don't have an out, when you don't have an exit wound, the blood tends to pool up. It's similar to when you get shot in the head with a 22. It's an old mobster style trick that a 22 doesn't actually exit the scalp. When you shoot a 22 into somebody's skull, the 22 bullet just bounces around the inside of the skull because it's not strong enough to penetrate the skull. It bounces around inside the skull and just tears the brain to shreds. So somebody actually bleeds out and dies internally in their brain, maybe out through their nose, but because it never leaves an exit when the blood doesn't spray out the other side of the head. That's how that works. Now, in similar way, when you're shot and you're in the lungs and everything, that's going to pool up. And Tupac still had his gold, his outfit on and all that kind of thing. And again, if you lay somebody down flat on their back and they're bleeding out of the chest, what are you going to try to do? You're going to try to stop the bleeding. You're going to try to put things on top of the chest to keep that down there. So there is a good possibility that there may not have been any blood on the ground because Tupac wasn't shot in the back. He had no exterior injury in his back to be bleeding into the ground. And if he got drug out of that car and sat flat on the ground on his back and he's bleeding in his chest, they're going to be compressing his chest. They're going to be putting shirts, pads, gauze, whatever they can find to not only collect the blood, but to actually put pressure on it and stop the bleeding from it. So those are all very important things that that are part of, you know, the reason that if there wasn't a lot of blood on the ground, that's a perfectly reasonable explanation as to why that may not be the
Well,
case.
there's the photo
So,
there of the crime scene, and I think that they take him that they take two. Well, they took Tupac out of the passenger seat, so they may have laid him down right where that gentleman's right there kneeling. Is that a fair assumption?
well, right. I'm still stuck on. I need to fast forward.
Okay.
I'm still stuck with this picture of Tupac in front of the car. Okay, where he's leaning there. Okay, yeah, Tupac would have been brought outside there now, but I do see down underneath directly. You look down directly underneath the door there. I'm seeing patches of red. Okay, I am seeing patches of red there. Maybe my monitor is better than your monitor is, but I'm seeing patches of red
Mm-hmm.
there. Okay, I am seeing where there was blood there. It looks like there's even blood on the rim of the car.
Does it?
Now, well, how that would have happened, not sure. But again, like I said, you know, there are definitely looks like patches of blood on the ground, and that would have happened from handling him. But guaranteed, they took him out of that car, and he was on the ground on his back. If there weren't any injuries coming out of his back, the bullet hadn't exited out his back, then he would have been bleeding out of the front on his chest, and they would have been not only mopping it up or sopping it up with
Mm-hmm.
towels, they would have been putting pressure on that to try to stop the bleeding, to let it go like
RJ,
that. So
did you
yeah,
in this moment, and I guess I'm probably guessing when you had your conversations with Frank, did you ever go like through the whole like situation like analytically, like okay, this happened and then what happened next and then what happened next and what happened next, like in smaller finer details, like when this happened, what was Frank doing? Was he just kind of staring off from a distance, seeing what was happening with Tupac, or did he like get in a car and head to the hospital, or what was it exactly? What did he do exactly after this happened?
no, actually, we did not only personally go into a lot of detail when personally off camera, but when we did Assassination, the first Assassination movie, Frank went back over again, and he'd done a pretty good job of detailing the night and what he had done there at in Before I Wake. But I had him roll back through it again. We were in Vegas. We were shooting the footage of him doing the interview, and I did have him go back over the everything that happened in that night. And of course, you're not talking about a great deal of time. You're talking about 20, 30 minutes from the minute that the shooting happened to the cops roll up and all that. And he said that they put him down on the curb and had him all sit down there, of course, but he did detail out from the minute that the shots rang out to what he did, getting out of the car, running around to the side of the car. There's still witness reports that confirmed that's exactly what he did, and how then the BMW took off and he had to jump back in his car, turn around, try to follow them, going down Flamingo
Mm-hmm.
there towards Las Vegas Boulevard. So yeah, no, we had many conversations. That's why I know the story so well, because there was always questions to ask. And of course, the problem is, he was one of my best friends. I mean, when you say that you want to talk to somebody about things, to me, there's only so much prodding and poking that I can do. As a friend, I can ask him, but if I know I'm going into a sensitive area or an area that he's uncomfortable talking about, how hard do you really want to hit that? So that's certainly something that I tried to be conscious of anyway while we were doing the interview, and then while we were also just hanging out too. We had a lot.
Right.
We were just hanging out.
All right. We have some questions. There's actually 3 questions, but
Sure.
what I've been doing is as we've been going along, I've been just posting pictures, and there's a picture of the car from the side. Looks like some bullet holes or whatnot on there, but
Yep.
people have seen that before. But
Yep.
just to give people a visual of what we're
Yep.
talking about.
Mm-hmm. So the big thing about the bullet holes, and I've said this a couple of times before, and everybody says, when the windows rolled down. No, knuckleheads, they were shot out. There is no window. It's not like they just had the windows down. I mean, yes, no, granted, the windows were rolled down because they were doing that. But no, the windows were shattered. Even if those windows had been rolled down, they were shattered in the door, because when those bullets tore through that door, as you could see in both cases, that bullet, any glass that was in that door, that glass is a goner. Okay, there's no, it would have been, you could have rolled up the window and it would have just pieces falling all over the place. So, but one of the things I find is interesting about this particular photo that you're looking at here is, when they talk about, you see the groupings right underneath the door handle there. Why somebody would shoot under the door handle, other than what we've talked about, where the other than the fact that a Glock is very heavy, and so you have to learn to aim up when you're shooting. You have to actually pull it a little bit higher than what your target is. Otherwise, it will shoot low and it will shoot down, which kind of explains why you see that grouping there down the bottom. The shots, though, going the other direction there, if you look at the bend and you look at the way that those shots angle, they show that the first two shots that were coming at a forward trajectory. They were not a straight slug. One of the most prominent pictures you see of the slug is the one that's right underneath the door handle. The door handle, that is a straight on shot. That's a typical characteristic bloom where you've got a round circle and you've got a round paint dispersal or paint chip pattern that shows that it was a straight on shot. Okay. Maybe the only straight on shot out of all of them, in fact, because if you look at the other ones, if you notice the one that's got the paint that's been removed, and then it's this is the one that would be right underneath the passenger window, the back seat window, I'm sorry. You would see that if you notice there, it's flared on one side and very tight on the other. That's a forward trajectory. That's a bullet that moved in a forward direction. Same thing with the bullet underneath it. Now, my question is, if first off, that takes the whole idea out of Keefe D's or somebody else's statement. That I forget who made it. Who's the most recent crackpot that made the statement? But they said that the new Orlando Anderson started talking to Tupac, and then Tupac reached for a gun, and magical gun, and then they opened fire on him. Well, the bullet patterns there doesn't tell that story at all. Okay, so as dumb as that sounds, and again, if you're only 5 feet away from somebody, okay, that's all they were, 5 feet away. A Cadillac's door height to the bottom of the window is the exact same height as the go back to the other picture of the thing. You're like a Viewmaster going here. Go back to the other picture with the the door.
The door handle.
Okay. Yeah, with the door handle. Okay. If you're gonna shoot somebody and you have the exact same curb height to the window for both the BMW and the white Cadillac, if it was a later model Cadillac, the door height's almost exactly the same height from the ground up to that door. So if you lean your hand out the window, you're not going to shoot the lower part of the other door. If you lean your hand out the window and you shoot, you're going to hit the same height that your hand is. And in that model of BMW, that would have been the shoulder or the neck of Tupac Shakur, okay, because their window heights were identical, okay? So when you look at that door and you see where that threshold is, anything above that would have been fair game for it. So those shots that go down below tell a very interesting story. And by the way, I got to tell you, I got to be honest with you, the reason nobody should even believe that story about Tupac reaching for a gun is, who the fuck is 5 feet away from you and somebody's reaching for a gun and you're that bad of a shot that you shoot the bottom part of the door? Okay. Yeah. Good luck trying to get Tupac that way. You must have really been aiming for your target. Here, let's go shoot the guy walking down the street. That's about as close as you get when you shoot into the door at somebody you're supposed to having a thing with, and they go to reach for a gun. You've got a clear shot into their window if you're stopped right next to them. A traditional assassination thinking, traditional hits, any kind of common sense says when you pull up to the side of a car, if you have the chance to stop and you want to surprise somebody, you take 3 shots. You shoot once to shoot out the window, and then you pick your target, you shoot a second time because you're only 5 feet away. How can you miss? Okay? How can you miss? And so there's a lot of people that try to use that logic to say, well, Suge Knight couldn't have done it. Suge Knight could have been responsible because he was in the car. And then they take it also to say, well, Suge Knight couldn't have been a victim because he never got hit and he's a big guy. Look at where the fucking bullets are, dumbasses. Okay? Suge Knight could have been an intended target, but the fact that he's as large as a house has nothing to do with it if the fucking bullets are being shot in the middle bottom of the door jamb. I mean, come on. And this is why you have to ask That's why you have to ask. Question
You know,
everything, okay?
yeah, absolutely. So you have some questions
Okay? Shoot. Let's hear them.
there. Let me go ahead and get my trusty phone here.
Talk
So
on.
the question that we have is, RJ, did you hear Buckshot Shorty's recent interview where he said that the Orlando fight was set up? Sorry, man. Sometimes these
That's
things
okay.
are.
No, that's okay. Jimmy Parson for that. Thank you for that question, Jimmy Parson. Okay, first off, I don't know who Buckshot Shorty is. Is that like a person? Is that a real person? I mean, it's kind of like fill in the blank. Did you hear blankety blank recent interview? Who somebody help the old guy here
I've
and
never
tell
heard.
me what the significance of Buckshot Shorty is. I already told you who the realist is. Tell me who Buckshot Shorty is. Okay.
I know who Buckshot George is. Remember Young Guns too?
Yes, I do. Yeah, that's right. Buckshot George. Yeah, but
Yeah.
Buckshot Shorty. Uh, don't. And hey, you know what? Maybe he's the next new thing. I don't know. But
Buckshot RJ.
Buckshot RJ. Yeah, that's right. I like Buckshot Kazi better. I think that sounds better. Buckshot. Okay. You just got nicknamed. You are no longer JMKAZE. You are now Buckshot. I'm gonna call you Buckshot Kazi. Yeah,
Oh
we're
my
gonna
god.
talk about Buckshot Kazi tonight. Woohoo!
All right.
All
Let's
right.
see here.
So okay, no, I have not. So to answer your question, Jimmy, I have not seen the interview with Buckshot Shorty. I maybe somebody wants to send me a link to it, and then he says that the Orlando fight. Because if I knew who Buckshot Shorty was, I could probably opine on whether or not his belief about what happened is relevant or not. The challenge I've got is that, excuse me. The challenge that I've got is that if I don't know who Buckshot Shorty is, I don't know whether or not he's just another guy with an opinion in the world, or whether or not he is like somebody who might know that it was set up. I mean, if you say, well, how do you know it was set up? Well, I helped set it up. Well, there you go. Okay.
Yeah.
But if you don't know who it is and you don't know who the guy is, so that would be no, I haven't heard it. And was it set up to happen? I believe it was. I believe that there was an enormous amount of pressure. Tupac was making all kinds of noise about wanting to leave death row. Reggie Wright's the one who said, we don't have to kill him. We could just violate him on his parole. Well, pretty good way to set him up, don't you think? And that way you have leverage. Okay? I mean, I didn't say that. I didn't, I'm giving credit where credit was due. Reggie Wright, in trying to defend why he may not have been a part of Tupac getting shot, used the justification. It was kind of a bad choice of words, if you ask me. But he's like, hey, no, we would have just violated on his parole. We wouldn't have to have killed him. We just would have violated him on his parole. Well, you already knew that? Okay, well, if you knew that that was the key to it then, now, why would you not have known that then? And then it sure does make the Orlando Anderson thing look like a setup. And then when Tupac got killed later that night, they were able to use that as an excuse by telling Frank Alexander to make this bullshit story about the chain being snatched, the death row chain, to tell that bullshit story. So it really does kind of seem like it was a setup. And but like I said, if I don't know who old Buckshot there, if I don't know that he might have been on that planning committee for it, I don't know that he has anything more than just an opinion. So, but I'm glad he thinks that. Brian Gregory says the news got some raw footage of the BMW. Wish we could go to see the whole uncut scenery. Well, I have the uncut news footage, of it. It's not too much more than what you've actually seen on the news, but I definitely have seen that. I have Greg McGurty, who is the press guy. I've got his entire uncut tape to the news media, where he's talking to the news media and they're asking him questions and stuff like that about it at that time. So maybe I find a way to put that out in some format or another. I know I'm actually using clips like that for one of the things I'm doing, but maybe we can get some material out, and so you guys can see some raw footage. It's like raw meat, right?
Yeah. We have another question, but I think I know the answer to this one, but I'm going to ask you either.
Please.
So, will the Las Vegas police ever release any autopsy photos? No. No.
No, especially not after the Biggie thing. You know, if those LAPD leaked the autopsy photos, which was a genius move. You know, when they leaked the Biggie photos, there's a lot of, you know, a lot of flack about that. You know, they're not going to. Vegas police aren't going to release any autopsy photos because there's still evidence. You know, for what they call corpus delicti, which means that if you're going to accuse somebody of murder, you have to have a dead body. So you use autopsy photos to establish that there was a dead body. By the way, no Tupac alive. Okay, doesn't work. Okay?
Oh,
You have a
yeah.
body. It's not. Oh, and I love the one. You know, this is that crackpot cornball guy who in Vegas trying to set up something like Tupac was alive. He runs around and he says that Tupac actually hired a double to get shot. What's that conversation go like? How does that go? Okay, think of how does that go? Hey, listen, oh, hey, man, how you doing? Oh, man, you're Tupac, man. Oh, well, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan. Yeah, okay, man. Well, check this out. You know, I know you look like me, you dress like me, and anybody could, I think, you or me. I need something from you, man. Oh, sure, anything, Pac, anything like that, and I'll pay you to do it. Oh, okay, anything like that. Okay, I want you to get shot for me.
I want you to get shot for me, but here's the thing: you won't be able to spend the money, but your family will live.
Right? No, you won't be able to spend the money because you're gonna be dead. You're gonna get shot. Okay, because I already know, according to this crackpot knucklehead, that this guy that Tupac already knew or had reason to believe, according to this crackpot in Vegas, the story is that Tupac knew that there was a plan to shoot him that night. So he hired a lookalike to get shot. Oh, and then somehow after the lookalike got shot, he drove to the hospital and switched places with him and got into a helicopter at the hospital and flew away.
No, he flew to the Navajo Nation is where he
Right,
flew.
well, he flew away. Right, he flew to the Navajo Nation. Right, yes, because the FBI can't go to the Navajo Nation. The FBI can't. Well, I got news for you. The FBI actually has a bureau called Tribal Relations, and the native tribes are actually specifically FBI territory. You dunce. Okay, that is the FBI has a whole unit that investigates tribal crimes and freely goes on tribal land. You dunce. Okay, that is not true that Tupac went to the Navajo Nation. I mean, maybe let's give the benefit of the doubt. Maybe that's what Tupac thought. Maybe that's why he's in Cuba now, because he found out that Navajo they didn't pan out like they thought it might. You know, hey man, he's looking out the mobile home window and goes, "Oh man, there's some FBI guys out there." Well, wait a minute, you said FBI can't come on tribal property. Oh yeah, about that.
Looking out a window or looking out of a teepee.
He was looking out the Indian casino window. I just think he was living, you know, a lot of them back in those days, before the Indian casinos popped up, they were mostly like mobile homes and stuff like that. They weren't teepees. Come on, you racist. What do you identify indigenous people with teepees? Boy, listen to you. See,
Actually, I'm half
Native. Outrage police on that one.
No, I'm actually half Native American, man. So
okay, well then you're betraying your own people by saying they did you a teepee. What are they smoking a peace pipe too? Okay, all right.
So here's the dunce that is that the dunce you're talking about? Let me go
wait
back.
A minute. Okay, so pop quiz. I got a survey for all the knuckleheads out there. How many of you really think that's his name?
Who?
Or
This
was
guy?
or was there just a discount at the hat printing place that you could do 8 letters for $5?
Rick Boss?
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Yeah. Yes. That is the dunce from which we are talking. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. The Great Escape from UMC. Well, again, and here's the thing about it: they gave him news time.
Yeah, they did.
Okay? They gave him news time. When you want to talk about a slow news day, and they got when they're thinking about, well, what are we gonna do for the news? Okay, somebody's dog got loose. Okay, no, we don't want to do that. That's just a loose dog story. Oh, I got one. Some guy says that Tupac escaped from UMC via a helicopter. Like, oh, there was that many helicopters flying? Oh, wait a minute. Shoot. You know what caused it? I never thought about it.
It was that
Maybe
helicopter
this
they bought
guy's
from
right.
Compton.
It was exactly that. I was just going to say that. That's right. It was the jet helicopter that Vegas bought from Compton.
Yeah.
And they used that with the Compton cops to conspire to land the Vegas Compton jet helicopter on the hospital landing pad where they do helivacs from.
Right.
And the helicopter went into super stealth mode, and without any of the hundreds of reporters and MTV and all the people that were around, managed to get that helicopter off the ground and authorize the airspace to take off from a hospital, all covertly. So then Vegas PD was in on it then.
Yeah, they were in on it.
Yeah, they had to have been if it was the Vegas helicopter. You know,
he shot this movie on an Android phone, right? I think.
He's a GoPro phone. Yeah, he shot it with it. Hey, you know, I hear good things about those Android phones. They're cinematic. Okay,
yeah.
They're cinematic. I think what you're going to see is it's going to look like the Blair Witch Project. It's going to be all this quote unquote found footage. It's going to be all shitty VHS high 8 tape stuff that's real shitty quality and and a lot of simulated footage to make it look like they're real. Like, we got hidden cameras there. Tupac actually had a VHS camera with him when he took off in the helicopter.
All right, so we could just barely say we can agree that story is just a money grab, bogus story.
Oh, you think? Oh no, I think it's totally legit. Yeah, right. I don't know why anybody isn't. He puts that movie out, man. That he's going to make a fortune. People are going to want to know. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's go back to some real comments here from some real people that have some real things to say. All right. Easy Boy 88 Sonny had it right. Yep. They were entrance wounds, not exit wounds. That's why the lack of blood. 100%. You just said it a lot easier than I did. It took me an hour to say what you said in about a minute. All right. So, one anomaly I could never get back is Frank Laga. What do we know, and what do you think about Frank Laga? I think it's an hour into the show, and that's probably a good another show. But if we can talk about Frank Laga at another point. I don't mind talking about Frank Laga. Frank Laga is more onto the Biggie stuff, and we can certainly talk about him. Don't mind at all.
We got something even better, RJ, and it's going to be...
Well, you don't want to talk about Rick Boss anymore, man? I mean, we could talk about Frank Lager. We could talk about Rick Boss. Okay?
No, his name is Rick Loss. No, we no, we earlier we talked about a certain person, and before you bring it up, I'm gonna get his picture, and then we can talk about it. You know what it's...
Guess who the person is. All right, well, let's see here.
Let's see here.
So tired.
Go ahead. Answer the questions. Answer some questions, and then I'll go ahead.
Tammy Frazier, welcome to the show. Tammy Frazier says, so tired of these flat earthers saying that Akil is Tupac. They're ruining this man's life for no reason other than their own stupidity. Yes, it is true, because everybody's at home right now, and nobody has anything better to do than to surf the internet and make trouble. We had 10 million jobless claims in California in the past few weeks. So there's 10 million people sitting on their asses at home with nothing better to do than to try to say Tupac's alive. It's, that's what happened. All right. Let's see here. Blacked out windows. Tammy Frazier also says, according to Kathy Scott, no reporters were there that night, not until 5 a.m. the next day. Well, first off, I would find that almost impossible to believe. Again, don't consider the source for a minute, but consider the fact that most reporters, especially TV reporters now, down where she was at the Sun, where they still had like styluses and tablets that they were writing on at the time, abacuses and shit like that. When you look at the technology there, the real news people, like TV news people, okay, they hear the police scanners. They were there. I mean, what the fuck? There were news reporters at the crime scene. Okay? How the hell can you say that anybody was there not till 5 a.m. at the hospital when all you got to do is follow the damn ambulance? There were news reporters at the scene of the crime that were interviewing, like the blonde chick that said she saw the helicopter and all these other people. I mean, that's why you can't believe what these people tell you. Just announce common sense knuckleheads.
Would you say that was just scripted?
Huh?
Would you say that was just scripted, just just for kicks when she had said that about the helicopter? Didn't it look like her mouth was dubbed?
Oh,
Like,
who knows? I don't even know about that. But I do know
mhm.
this. If you think that somebody is telling you the truth when they say no reporters showed up, maybe no newspaper reporters, because they were at home sleeping, not doing anything. But when you say that no reporters showed up at the hospital until 5 a.m., how do you reconcile that with the fact that reporters were at the fucking crime scene and knowing that they were being taken to the hospital? They would go straight to the hospital because they have police scanners and ambulance scanners, and even probably heard when the Tupac helicopter took off to go to the Navajo reservation. Okay? They probably even heard that. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So why the hell, again, another reason, why the hell would you ever believe something that that person says? Because if they're making a comment like that, maybe she didn't get there until 5 a.m. because that's, slow people do that. But maybe, no, you had news reporters that were at the crime scene taking video of the crime scene. How are you suggesting that they just spent 5 hours at the crime scene and said, oh, the hospital, maybe we should go there?
I mean, we're talking about the best rapper of the year. I mean, well, he's to me he's the greatest rapper of all time. But yeah, I mean, they're not gonna go and get this salacious piece of the news story, and they're gonna wait for 5 hours. Come on.
Right. So, all right. So, Realize says that she was a crisis actress. I never heard of that before. That's interesting.
Crisis.
She knew Pac and Death Row previously. She was in California Love Video. Or maybe she was. I don't know. Miss Machiavelli, welcome to the show. I missed that. Jay Sasquatch and Gino. I miss you guys too. So what's up?
Welcome, guys.
What's up? Let's see. Realize, of course. Welcome. Did I miss anybody? Let's see. Are you Dublin loves yas? You know what? I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to Dublin. Soon as this shit clears up, I'm going to Dublin. I've been watching a lot of TV on my fat ass since we've been out for a while and we've been home. I got to watch a lot of TV. And one of my favorite things to watch are those real estate shows where there's House Hunters Dublin, House Hunters Australia, and it gives me a chance to look at some places. And I got to tell you, I am in love with Dublin, straight up. So I got to come out there. Maybe we can get a few people to come together. I'll try to beat Greg Kading's record of 10 people and get maybe 20 people to come to an event. And maybe, I don't know, Miss Machiavelli, maybe you can help me round up some people in Dublin that might be interested. And we'll do a screening of Assassination there. Maybe we'll do Battle for Compton there.
I heard he had artificial clapping sounds. He had a speaker
he had
in
a
there.
clap track. He had an applause track like that. Cue the applause.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. It's okay. All right. So now you mentioned that the infamous picture. Okay, hold on. Am I still live? Yeah, I think I am still live.
You're still live. But before you cut into that, I just wanted to say a Bookshot Shorty is from the Boot Camp Click, and that was comments from some of the viewers in here. But somebody else sent me something that has a picture of him. So he is a relevance. He's from New York. So I mean, I would think that he knows Tupac. But I'm thinking that's more opinion based than it is factual.
Well, I mean, my question would be how do we know? How do we know? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
We'll find that out. That's for sure. But again, Dublin, rock on with your bad selves. It's a beautiful country. Woo! It's got some beautiful scenery there. Take some horses out there and do some riding on those, the beautiful aisles there. It's just so beautiful. Okay.
What was his name? George Wallace, or who was the guy that was in Braveheart?
Braveheart. Oh, George Wallace. Yeah.
Oh yeah, George Wallace. Okay. Well, before if you want to segue into what what was next, I can go ahead and ask you a question, and then you can go ahead and let me know.
Okay. Were you going to show the magic picture of the magical mystery guest, ladies and gentlemen? We have a magical mystery guest.
Magical mystery. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip.
The magical mystery guest. No, I'm not paying royalties on that, and don't copyright strike me for that bad impression. Go to Dickie's. Always remember, order the turkey because it goes first.
All right. So what has been out is that the person that's on the screen, you can say his name, that he.
I'm still looking at the door, but that's.
That he lost.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
He lost.
Oh, God.
That he lost. That he lost the Tupac footage to the estate. Yeah, you want to take those glasses off.
Yeah, I do. It's better. It's better more blurred. So I thought it was George Clooney for a minute, and then I put my glasses on. Wow. Okay. All right. So the not
Antonio
George Clooney.
Banderas.
So it's not George Clooney.
No.
All right. So now, what were people saying about this guy? What now?
There was the story that he had lost he had lost the footage that he had shot to the estate, that he lost it.
Now? So people are saying that, or he says that.
People are saying that. People are saying that
Oh.
he lost the footage.
Well, where are these people hearing that from?
That's
See,
why I had to
that's
ask
because
you.
I'd really like to know. To be honest with you, I'd like to know if he's the one running around saying that, because I got proof otherwise, and I don't know right at this exact moment where it is.
Well, I think people
Right.
want to hear the story, and if you want, you can look for it real quick, and then I can plug
Yeah, do
the
that.
okay. So let me plug the royal family for all you out there that are, of course, I would say that we're gonna into hip hop music. The royal family is out of Austin, Texas, and they have a single that's hitting the airwaves, "Man with No Plan," and the track's available on all platforms. June 19th. Follow at Instagram official Prince O.J. Money, and I'll put the link in the description. This is a group that they wrote a song before, Ahmaud Arbery, and they are a hip hop group out of Austin, Texas, and they'll have an album coming out called Mood Swings. So I'll leave the description for the Instagram so you can follow them, and then also if you want to check the platforms for the song "Man with No Plan," the Royal Family. I didn't play the song just because of the algorithms, and what YouTube will do is they'll give me a strike, and I already got a strike already, so I don't need another strike. So I won't play the song, but I'll leave a link to the actual the audio for the song. So Royal Family out of Austin, Texas, check them out. I heard a few of their songs. They're pretty good group, and hip hop basically is all about promotion. So the Royal Family, Prince O.J. Money, and it's actually three gentlemen, and they own the three jewelry stores, and I'm gonna assume in Austin, Texas. So the black-owned jewelry stores in Austin, Texas. Tracks are available on all platforms.
Did you
June
say the
19th,
guy's
which is
name?
tomorrow.
Did you say the guy's name was Prince OJ?
Prince O.J. Money. That's his name.
Prince
That's his
OJ.
Prince
You,
O.J. Money.
I
Yeah.
can boy, is time a lot of time gone by when somebody would dare to use the name OJ again.
O.J. Yeah,
Yeah,
Prince O.J. Money. Yeah. So he's on Instagram. That's gonna be
OJ Money.
and that's the thing. And I'm gonna add one more point is that sometimes you guys gotta click on the descriptions because we'll leave links on there to certain things, and if you don't click on, it's like reading a book and not reading the ending. Okay.
Right.
So I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna segue back into what we were gonna speak
Okay.
about. So,
So
and I think
check
people
this
need to
out.
know the
Okay.
truth. People
What
need to know the
exactly?
truth about this.
Okay. So all right. So here's the thing. Now what I could do is I could go like this again. I could do the great gating. Look at all these documents that I have. Oh, look it. They got numbers on them. They must be court documents, right?
Yeah.
I got all that. Okay. Well, here's the difference. I will show you, and I'll hold it up on my camera for a long time, and I'm even going to look at the feedback because it's a minute or two on the feedback. I'm going to hold it right there so you can read it. Can you read what it says, Kazi? Can you read that clearly? Is my
No,
camera?
it's blurry. But what I'm gonna do is
Hold on.
I'm gonna delete the picture of. Well, I'm gonna make it very small, and then I'm gonna make you larger on the screen so
Okay,
that people can see it.
I'll put it in focus so that people can see it.
Okay, I'm almost there. Okay, all right. So
Is that
I'm gonna go back in, and I'm gonna go back. There we go. So that now you got it bigger. So it's out of focus right now,
okay?
but
So let me see what I got to do to make it put it in focus. Is it in focus now? Can you see it?
yeah, it's a little blurry. I don't know if anybody's gonna be able to identify that, but if
Oh,
you want, you can send
okay.
me.
Well, we can do it. Yeah, exactly.
You can blur something out and
Well,
just
it's
send
kind
it
of
to
neat.
me.
It's like a okay. Okay, now
Oh,
I can
you know the reason why it's probably gonna be blurry is because you got that blur
oh, I do,
filter.
don't I? I got that blur filter
Yeah, you get the
on my
blur filter
camera.
on.
Well, let's turn that off then. What the hell?
So you just turn that blur filter off, and then after
Well,
that,
so I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to turn that blur filter off. Hold on. We're going to go here, unblur my background. Okay. Now you should be able to see it.
yeah. Mm-hmm. You sure can. And if you want, I can read it off. It says plaintiff versus Gobi. Tom Wally versus Gobi. Los
Okay.
Angeles, 2019. So this is relatively new. I mean, of course, it was last year, but it wasn't like 20 years ago. So this is some fairly new stuff. But yeah, I see it
Okay.
there.
So I have the court paperwork. Okay. So here's what happened. Go back several years when Tracy Robinson and Gobi formed a company with Tupac that was called 24/7 Productions. Tracy talked about that in Assassination 2, Tupac Assassination 2. If you want to remember that, go back and watch the movie. I'm sure you can get a download or it's on YouTube. I'm sure you go back and find it, and you'll see that they created 24/7 Productions for reasons unknown to me, unclear to me, and incredibly suspicious. For some reason, Tracy Robinson, who was a third partner in that, got squeezed out by Gobi, and somehow Gobi ended up without any paying her any money or without giving her any consideration for her friends' things, got her to give up the rights to the footage and sign all of this Tupac behind the scenes footage, which, by the way, he would have never have ever gotten his hands on if it hadn't have been for his relationship with Tracy. He used that relationship and profited off that relationship, and to this day hasn't done a fucking thing to get her any kind of compensation, to give her any kind of credit, to give her any kind of due for that. And I challenge him. Let him come out. Let him say maybe Bomb First will get him on there and he can talk all about how well he's treated Tracy Robinson and how well he did that and exactly what he gave her to get her to sign the rights over that he claims he had total ownership of this footage. But at the end of the day, somehow he got all the footage. Okay, that's that. He had it all in his possession. Well, the deal that they had with the Tupac and Tracy and Gobi had when they set up 24/7 Productions was that Tupac was going to get half of whatever money was made out of 24/7 Productions, and Tracy and Gobi were going to split the other half. So it was 50, 25, 25. That was how they were going to split that thing. Well, somehow Gobi got all this footage, and suddenly this footage started showing up in documentaries. It started showing up in Biggie and Tupac, and he was charging thousands and thousands of dollars per second for the footage for the movie and all that, and the footage that he was selling. And he'd been doing this for years. And I mean, obviously Tracy Robinson never saw a dime from it. We know that. But Tom Wally in the estate said, you know, you got that footage hanging out there and you have this agreement. Strange. Tupac's estate hasn't seen a dime from this arrangement that you went and you copywrote all this stuff and you charged people and you made money and you sold this footage, but you never kind of split it with the people that you had the agreement with. Oh, that agreement. Okay. So Tom Wally, who is the estate, who is the head of the estate now in place of Afeni, went ahead and sued Gobi. Okay, there you go. Now I'm going to blur my background again. So
put in context, just so that I don't know if everybody in this room knows who Tracy Robinson is, but can you tell the audience what her relationship was to Tupac in full scope?
Tracy Robinson was a video producer. She had produced all kinds of videos for Ice Cube. Knew Ice Cube very well, produced many of his videos, some stuff for NWA. She did a lot of stuff. She was very well known as a hot video producer at that time during those years. And about that time, she met Layla Steinberg, who introduced her to Tupac, and she fell in love with Tupac. I don't mean literally fell in love with, but just fell in love with his personality, really liked him. He asked her to help produce his videos, which she did. She developed a friendship with him, and through the friendship that she had with him, they were doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And basically, Tupac asked Tracy to be kind of her consigliere, kind to be, and I have Tupac on tape saying this, that he wanted Tracy to be his consigliere, kind of like his advisor. And Tracy was going to be Tupac's advisor to help him negotiate through the entertainment business, through the acting things, doing the music videos, and handle much of his business stuff in the entertainment side of things, help him do his video, and really be part of that creative scope. Gobi was Tracy's boyfriend at that time, and Tracy introduced Gobi to Tupac, where basically Gobi just started showing up and taking pictures, and people like Frank Alexander, nobody knew who the fuck this guy was, not even Frank Alexander, and Frank Alexander broke his camera, took his camera away from him, broke his camera because he was taking pictures, and Tupac said, or Frank said, don't take any pictures. He still kept taking pictures. Frank took his camera away and, you know, damaged it, according to Frank. But nobody knew who the hell this guy was. And this guy shows up on the scene, but because Pac had such an affinity for Tracy and he had such an appreciation for her because Gobi was part of her life, whatever their relationship was, that Pac appreciated that, saw that, hey, this guy is good with the camera. He's a cameraman. He's a photographer. Maybe he could do some camera work on some videos. And that was how it all got started. And the only reason that Gobi even knows who the hell Tupac is or even had an opportunity to shoot one frame of a picture of Tupac was because of Tracy Robinson. Frank could be the first one to tell you he'd never have gotten an opportunity to get in front of Tupac had it not been for Tracy Robinson. So that's what it is. Now, the estate came back many years later and said, hey, by the way, you've been making an awful lot of money off of this footage that you copywrote and these other things, and you never bothered to pay us for it. And there is a question as to whether or not you even had the right to copyright it in the first place. Because
he's a contractor, right?
What's that?
Because he was kind of like work for hire. Like
work for hire. That's right. You know, with 24/7 Productions, he was part of the company, but whether or not the copyright should have been in the name of 24/7 Productions, because that's the company that was the one who hired them and passed it down, and they did the work for the company. So all of the title and the copyright should have been the name of 24/7 Productions, but by the time Gobi copyrighted it much later and Tracy copyrighted it much later, 24/7 Productions had kind of come and gone. It wasn't a thing anymore. But it doesn't matter because the estate said that. Now, let's all be honest about what the intent is here. The intent is the estate wants to do a documentary about Tupac. Tupac footage is like beachfront property. They're not making it anymore. It's hard to get a hold of, hard to find. Everybody's scrambling for it. And so when you're sitting on this plethora of stuff that Gobi's charging thousands of dollars a second for, you can say, well, since we have all these other questions about if he really owns it, we have questions about whether or not he really has a copyright on it, whether or not he has the right to sell it, and if he does, why hasn't anybody got paid? We have a lot of claims here. So we're going to hire some attorneys, and instead of paying him for that footage, we're going to just basically leverage it out of him because he made the mistake of not honoring the contract that he signed as part of 24/7 that would have made him pay the estate. If he'd been paying the estate all along, maybe they wouldn't have had such a strong leg to stand on. But you know what? When you make a habit out of not treating people right and cutting people out of your property and pictures and deals and stuff like that, like he did with Tracy, I don't see how he would have. Again, my opinion, allegedly, cut Tracy out of those deals. That he would be willing to go give the estate any money either, which clearly by their allegations he never did. So
how much did he get for that footage?
What's that? Well,
how much?
Let me get into that for a minute. So ultimately, what you're looking is a settlement. This is a settlement conference here, and a judgment, because after the state made their claims, Gobi made some claims back. They finally reached a settlement agreement, and the settlement agreement said that the estate, because they didn't want to hassle with it anymore or figured it would cost more in attorney fees, offered to pay Gobi $250,000, $250,000 for that footage. Okay, and so let's see here.
Is that taxable?
Yeah, let's see here.
Band Store. Welcome, Band Store.
He says, they said, I had two questions while I was sort of going over my notes. This is the attorney, or I'm sorry, it was the court, said this today. Said, I asked Mr. Rahimi about the term in which defendant represents that other than the testimony of Tracy Robinson, he was not aware of anyone else having a claim to the property. That's because Tracy Robinson still maintains that she has a right to that property. But nevertheless, they made a deal with Gobi. They paid him $250,000 to hand over that footage, and then they gave him the right to be able to sell the still pictures which Tracy says allegedly aren't even his to begin with. Many of the pictures that he claims are his were actually taken by others. Again, that I didn't make that up. That's what's been alleged. I don't know if it's true or not, but I believe it. Let's put it that way. And that he took that, and they allowed him the right to be able to resell those pictures at like art galleries and things like that. So this dude basically, in my opinion, based on what I've seen, ripped everybody off. The estate got a hold of him. They wanted that footage worse than they wanted to deal with him. For them, $250,000 wasn't a big deal to get all that footage. And at the end of the day, paid him off. They got their footage. Now they're going to make a documentary. They're going to use all that footage, which, by the way, has pretty well been seen on YouTube most of the time. I helped Gobi at one point actually take some of it down because he didn't know how to do takedowns or anything like that, and took some of that raw footage down. But, you know, to be honest with you, I'm not really sure that Gobi had a whole lot that somehow didn't end up on YouTube in one form or another anyway. So it'd be interesting to see what he had that was really all that much more than what Frank and I saw and what we saw on YouTube as well.
I can recall. Didn't he start some kind of GoFundMe or some kind of ad, some kind of campaign to raise money for that movie, 7 Days?
Yeah,
Kickstarter or something.
It's there. I mean, just plug it in. Just go to Kickstarter, type in Kickstarter 7 Days the movie, and you'll see that he was trying to raise money to make a movie out of that footage. Now, me, I'd have just made the movie. I mean, what's it take to do a documentary? How much money do you need?
Was he afraid to get sued? Was that what his reluctance was?
Hell if I know. I do know that I think that a lot of people that have this stuff, they think there's a certain value to and clearly there was some, the state thought there was value to the footage, that there's value to the footage, and why put it out for free or wait to get paid if you can get a bunch of knuckleheads on GoFundMe to raise a bunch of money, to basically extorting the fans to see unseen footage of Tupac. Okay? That's what it appears to be to me, is basically extorting the fans. Hey, if you pay me a certain amount of money, then I'll show you this footage you really want to see. But if you don't pay me, I'm not going to show it. Okay? You know, that's what that was all about. And I think it's inherently dishonest. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I think it's inherently dishonest.
Do they get the money back? The Kickstarter
I don't
pledgers?
know. You have to jump on Kickstarter and find that out.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, I wasn't one of them, so I'm not worried about it. But that was okay. So Tracy Robinson, as far as her, when Tupac died, did she pretty much get out of the industry? She just decided that it wasn't for her anymore, or?
Well, she she went to a really dark place. And again, like I said, like a lot of other people whose lives were directly impacted by Tupac's death, who had pinned a lot of what they were doing. I mean, Tupac was a pretty high demand guy during that time at Death Row Records. He was so busy doing all the stuff that he was doing, he needed a whole support crew of people basically helping him and doing things for him and with him. He was acting, he was rapping, cutting hundreds of records in the studio, hundreds of tracks in the studio, you know, running around, traveling, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And he basically needed a support staff, which Tracy was one of them. Yasmin Fula was one of them. Yo-Yo was one of them. There was a lot of people that were support staff for him. And so when he was out and about doing the things, they kind of minded the shop. Well, all of these people that basically dropped everything else that they were doing to work on Tupac stuff, when Tupac suddenly dies, what do? You know, if I got out of doing music videos and I basically cut ties with most of my other clients, and by the way, in the rap industry, you know, she could be friends with Ice Cube, and I don't know that Ice Cube ever held any, any particular animosity towards Tupac or anything. But you know, it's kind of like when you work for one, you kind of give your solidarity to that one, and they get their own team and they do their own thing. I think she lost a lot of opportunities. Maybe if she jumped like right back in after he died and started producing stuff. But, you know, people aren't like that. They go through a mourning process. You know, it took Tracy a long time. I don't know that she's ever gotten over Tupac's death. Not really. It's still, I think, kind of an open wound for her, as it is for a lot of people, because there was no closure to it. Okay?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, and Miss Machiavelli's right. I think he had to give it to the estate. They were going to get it one way or another, but so that they didn't look to maybe filing appeals, or maybe another one of his friends who was an attorney, trying to come after the estate. I think that they gave him a fair price for the footage, and that way it looked like it was an equitable deal on both sides, and that's how they settled. So that was the idea.
That was
So
that. Any let's see here. We got some new people in the house. I buy houses. I forgot to shout you out earlier. Welcome Tammy Frazier. And then we have of course Jake Style. Jake Styles here. Jake Styles, man, he's hell bent on the head of security killing Pac and Biggie.
yeah, so opinion. Yeah, that's I won't shame him for that. That's for sure. So check this out. I Buy Houses asked RJ, there has been some channels releasing the real unreleased tracks of Tupac. Do you have any idea who it is?
Good question.
I have an idea who it is. I can't prove it, and I'm not sure that it is. If I had to speculate, which is all it is, and there's nothing behind it, that it is, it would have to be someone who has the property to begin with to give away. Okay.
Hold on. Is it Big Kaz or is it Daz?
It's neither one.
I know.
Yeah, it's neither one.
I think I have an idea too.
Yeah, but I do think that it is a person who probably doesn't have a whole lot of other means of income, okay, and needs the money, as we probably all do in this day and age, and that he has access to the unreleased tracks that might be able to profit from them and is willing to do that. So when you have channels coming out with that, I would say it's probably a very select few group of people that would be releasing this information. I don't think Reggie's doing anything. Reggie's in prison right now. I don't think he's releasing anything except for his 10-minute phone calls. Okay.
Yeah, do you remember you remember right when Tupac died, and I think it was probably about a month or 2 months later I started seeing like at convenience stores they had like Machiavelli 2. I think it went all the way up to 20, like to 20.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It was crazy.
Well, and again, what they were doing is they were taking bits and pieces of him. Again, I found his number again. I think I'm going to talk to him again.
Who, Tupac?
The guy? No.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, I did in Cuba. Thank you for reminding me of that. No, I found Bobby Thompson So's phone number.
Okay.
This is the guy who actually ran Wide Awake Entertainment. He's the one who was the money guy behind getting all the money together to buy the Death Row assets and buy that. And they were the ones that were promising that they were going to release a Tupac album. This was also the fellow that I talked to at great length, many times actually on the phone, and talked to him about his travails as far as trying to get the records together and actually what was going on with the Tupac album at that time. And one of the things that he had said to me again, and we've done live streams about this before, about what when a record is done, when a track is done, when Tupac does a track, Tupac might come in and he might lay down a vocal track, and then they got a double track, and then they got a triple track, and each one of those are have a master. His audio has a master. Then you have the drum track as a master, and then you have the instrumental tracks. They all have masters. Every single piece of the recording process, and it could be 25 tracks, all have their own masters. So when you say Tupac masters, that could mean one of two things. It could mean the edited master, which means all those squashed together into one mixed down master, and it's a tape or a reel, and that's a master. Or the masters are all of the different parts that come together, those 24 pieces that come together to form the finished product. Those were all put together for many, many tracks of Tupac. But according to Bobby Thompson So, who was the guy who was the money guy behind it, certainly had the interest to want to put something out because it would help return on their investment, said that, those pieces were scattered to the four winds, four corners of the earth, and that the estate, they had asked the estate for, we're missing track 1, 13, and 8 for this particular song. I think we have it. Maybe we have it. I don't know. We'll check. And then somehow never got back to them. The estate never got back to them about it. And then, okay, on track 2 here, we picked the songs we like. There's these 10 songs that we really like. Now we're trying to put them together, and what they had was they had a piece of this one and a piece of this one and a couple of pieces of that one. and they weren't able to assemble them all together to put the record together, because they could have done it as a demo, so they understand what the finished song was like with all the parts. But then when they actually go to remaster it, they go back to find all the original masters, hence the word remaster. They go back and they find all of the masters. Suddenly pieces are missing, and it's like trying to put a sweater on that's got a bunch of holes in it. Okay, you know, and then the question becomes, what do you do to fill up those holes? Do you go back and re-record things and pay studio musicians to come in, or is it a piece of it like Tupac's first and third verses are there, but the second verse master is missing because they couldn't find it, or the chorus is missing because they couldn't find it? Any one of those things would have all been part of it. And Bobby Thompson so said that they just literally couldn't put the album together. So when you see these bootlegs that come out, what a lot of these guys did was they'd grab an acapella track, put their own music behind it, a dit-dat track, as I call them, where it's like tink-a-tink, 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 tink, dit-dat track, where there really isn't a whole lot of music to it, just a lot of beat, and it's just a lot of dink-a-dinks going on behind it, and they put Tupac's name out in front of it, put his vocal on there, and then they have a song. I think that that's what's being sold, are all of these bits and pieces, and depending on how many of what you want, and they were all cataloged, so somebody knows how they all go together and knows what they're missing, that you will find various tracks at various stages of completion, and depending on how much you pay for all those masters, you can actually then put your own drum track in, or put your own lyrics in, sometimes, in some cases, put your whole music in, put your whole background, because all it is an acapella, with him just chanting.
Was Wide Awake's only, I guess, best catalog? Was it all of the Death Row music, or did they have any other notable catalogs in there?
Wide Awake was a jazz label.
Oh,
okay. Wide Awake Records specialized in jazz.
Yeah.
Okay. And so it was a completely, kind of like they call it a white horse. They were just completely so far outside the world of hip hop, but they had money and they had investors, and they saw it as a savvy investment. And they had a publishing, they had distribution, they had publishing. If they got an album, they could have gotten it out to the stores. It wouldn't have been a problem. Would have been easy to do. But again, because they didn't understand, it was like when Glowcock said that Tupac understood gangsters, but he didn't understand gang people. Okay. They understood the music business, but they did not understand the hip hop people in that rap industry of the ilk of a Suge Knight or of other people that were not the most legitimate business people on the planet. So here you have these people, and all they're trying to do is make some money, trying to do things the right way contractually. They got the rights out of the bankruptcy court. They paid for it effectively, did all that, got that set up, and then they're getting lied to. Well, yeah, we think we have it, and then we don't. And then they talk to people at Death Row. Well, we think we have it, then we don't. And then they made John Hyland and some other people that were out in LA that had loose affiliations with Death Row, like what's that cat's name? It wasn't John Hyland. It was the guy he was working for, and I'll tell you. John something or other.
John Payne.
John Payne, that's the one. Was working for Death Row and said, oh, well, and told the bankruptcy trustee, told them, hey, why don't you let us handle it? We know Death Row inside out, Pacific Title Archives, where we kept all the masters and everything like that. We can put our hands on them. We'll do all that for you, so you guys don't worry about it. Well, Wide Awake is in Quebec. They're like in the other side of the fucking world. They're in Canada.
Yeah.
Way on the Great White North. Take off, eh? Out there into the Great White North. And they're all relying on these people out in Los Angeles who are already maybe a little shady. I don't know. I don't know them. So, I mean, I've heard things, but that were definitely tied up with the original owners of Death Row. John Payne was still tied up with Suge Knight. And I'm sure Suge Knight didn't really want to see any of those assets really go. So they play games, just like when they found the master tapes in Detroit. They play games with these things.
Yeah.
And they play games with where the masters were. And the estate never got all the masters that Death Row promised them 4 different times in 4 different settlements in 4 different court cases. The estate kept having to take Death Row Records and Suge Knight and all them people back to court again and kept saying, where's all the masters you promised us? Oh, yeah, we'll get them for you. And they do another settlement agreement, and then they'd never fulfill it. So all these masters, there were just games being played. And Wide Awake, being the guys that are out there that were running a legitimate label, couldn't understand what the hell was going on with all this. They just know that they couldn't make a record out of it. So they ended up selling it off. That's how E1 got it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, E1 being a company that was in LA had better relationships with Universal Music Group, who had some of the rights through Interscope to Tupac's originals, some of his other catalog. E1 had some stuff. They got the pieces together, but you notice that they haven't been able to do anything with it either.
No.
Okay. And yet they have closer ties with Reggie Wright and with a lot of people that were at Death Row Records when all these tracks started mysteriously disappearing. Okay. So there's certainly something to be said about where all that stuff came from.
So
But
Wide Awake is a defunct company now?
no, they're still around. They're still doing jazz.
Oh, they are. Okay,
You
there
know?
yeah, you were saying they're in Canada, so there may have been like a cultural.
Well, they were trusting people that had no business being trusted
Okay.
because they didn't know them. The only reason that they really didn't have a lot of a choice, because they themselves were so far removed from the situation, they didn't know how to go about getting those records. It's like, okay, basically it would be like this: you and I go travel down to Venezuela. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we don't know fuck all. We don't know anybody down in Venezuela.
Okay.
But we're going to go and we're going to say we need to find, because we're going to go to the deepest, darkest parts of the Amazon jungle, and we're going to go find the treasure of the lost monkey king. Okay, and so we go down there and we look around and we say, hey, we need a guide that can take us down. In fact, they made a movie about it. It was an interesting movie. They hired a crackpot guide that told them they could take them where to go. The guy ended up taking them into the jungle and leaving them there. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
the basically, when you don't know the territory, and Wide Awake didn't know the whole topology of the rap area, didn't know any of the rap players, never really even met with rap people before, or had no idea. They were looking to hire a guide, maybe somebody they can trust. So when, like, you and I go to Venezuela, we're gonna have to try to hire somebody we can trust, because we don't want to be stranded in the middle of the jungle. You know, we don't want to be fighting for our lives and malaria and everything else out there. And yet you have to trust the guide that you hire is going to look out for your best interest. And that's what they did with John Payne and some others from the LA Death Row crowd that were remnants of Death Row Records. And there was a lot of money that changed hands. Don't get me wrong. Wasn't like these cats were doing it for free. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure, we'll help you. We'll try to find you all those Death Row things. And yeah, we know you want to make an album. Yeah. I can imagine what those phone calls sounded like.
Yeah.
You know, they call from Quebec. Hey, good day, eh? This is from the Great White North. We're calling to Bob and Doug McKenzie, and we're calling for John Payne. Are you there, John Payne? Yeah, I'm here. Oh, okay. Did you find those Death Row tapes? Oh, yeah, we're working on it. Oh, okay. Well, you were working on it 5 weeks ago. Well, we're still working on it. Well, how many more weeks are going to be? We want to put out a Tupac album, eh? Well, we can't put out a Tupac album because we don't have all the tracks. Well, how long are you going to take it, Jack? 5 more weeks. Okay, we'll call back in 5 weeks. Click. That's the phone call.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not very productive.
If I say I'm going to call you back, just enjoy the rest of your day.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
So that's what that's what I think, with the tracks that are coming out now, they are far from legitimate unreleased Tupac tracks. They are otherwise engineered based on one or more strings of an original song, one or more pieces of an original song. Because had there been enough tracks to put together an original, completely original Tupac track, as was intended by Tupac and the engineers and producers that worked with him, like Johnny J and some of the others.
Hurt
okay?
him bad.
Had they been that complete, you would have seen or heard from them a long time ago. But again, they let these acapellas out, and then somebody puts the theme to Sesame Street under an acapella, and suddenly you got an unreleased Tupac track. Okay, so that is how that whole thing goes. I know we talked about that. For a while,
and doesn't Johnny J's wife have some unreleased Tupac music?
Yes, she does. And it's good.
Yeah,
they're good.
Okay. Would you say that was part of the reason why he got killed?
They are very complete. Let me put
Extortion.
it that way. They are very complete. The tracks from Johnny J are very complete. And Johnny J's murder was, or as they called it, a suicide.
It was not a suicide.
Like they called Frank's a suicide. Okay. Yeah, I think that there was, Johnny J had a lot to say, and I think he had a lot of information that a lot of people didn't care for because he was that close with Tupac. So, and again, so like Suge Knight said, you separate the man from the money, right?
You think there was it was maybe like an extortion claim, like they were trying to get those tracks from him, and they were, uh, trying to threaten him with violence, and then he just didn't give in, and
No,
they
no.
threw him off the balcony with where the cameras weren't there. They weren't in that one area. I don't believe he committed suicide. I mean, he was there for what, DWI or something.
Hmm. So, I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. Um, I was looking at the question about Yasmin calling the outlaws
Oh
crows.
yeah, answer those questions. They're there. Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. What do I think about them? Her calling them crows? I think she really believes that. I mean, I don't think that they're really literally crows, but I think there's probably I think that there's probably a meaning behind that. I think that I'm probably not literate enough to understand what that slang is, but I'm guessing it's not good. Whatever it is, I'm figuring it's probably not good.
I don't know if you ever seen
Uh,
those like the cartoons. The crows were always kind of sneaky, kind of
Yeah,
just
right. Yeah,
conniving,
right. Yeah, scars hanging on their mouth. Yeah, no, I get it. I get it.
right?
But so well, listen. Well, as you know, it's coming up in the witching hour. We went 2 hours rather than one, like we always
Oh yeah.
say we're going to do, and then we never do. And I am looking at. Let's see here.
Yeah, I guess if we're gonna get ready to wrap it up, I would probably ask the knuckleheads to give us your best question, your last question of the night, the best question
Yep.
you have, and
Yep.
then
Yep.
you'll certainly answer it, and then I'll go ahead and well, we will
So
wrap it up.
Gayabito said, "Why don't you guys post the assassination documentaries on RJ Bond's channel? It will get views." It's funny. I talked a couple weeks ago. I think I talked about doing that, but in light of some current projects and some things that are being worked on right now, I think that we're probably not going to do that. We'll probably turn down the volume a little bit on the movies because I don't want to keep competing projects out against each other. And I think that we've got some new information that I think we'd like to get out to some people. So, but I think it's a great idea. Let me think about it. Okay. I'll just give you that. Let me think about it. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right. Let's see here. In Band Store says, is there any way to substantiate aspects of the patent letter with documentary evidence? For example, is there a way to confirm LHD's contract was sold to Priority? Any way to verify that demotion? Well, yes, there is documentary evidence to back up those stories. Yes, we did do research on Little Half Dead and his relationship with Priority Records, and in fact, we actually even went to as far as to confirm other information that was given to us that was probably never shared with the public in terms of like how the Pattons met Little Half Dead, where they met Little Half Dead, and how that would have happened and why that would have happened, and the description of the people, places, and things that happened at that time. We did do the research on that. We did do the due diligence on it. And as we expected it would for people that other reporters say are reliable informants, we checked out the information and the information was reliable. So if you want to ask, is there any way to substantiate aspects of the patent letter with documentary evidence? We have a lot. I mean, like, for example, there was this whole controversy as to whether or not Tupac was ever in Reno. Did we clear that up? Yes. You know, Tupac was in Reno. They shot a Heineken commercial there. I think it was Heineken,
No,
wasn't it?
no, it was St. Ides. St. Ides.
What's that? St.
St.
Ives.
Ides.
Yeah, that's it. St. Ives. Yeah,
Snoop
St.
Dogg
Ives.
and Dog.
Yeah. Okay. But that was Reno. Okay. And I can't begin to tell you, and I kind of wish now I'd screenshot it or I'd have it on the live streams or whatever, how many people absolutely refused. I mean, even Adrian Gregory said he never thought Tupac was in Reno. Okay. So, I mean, the fact that he was there, I mean, there's a lot of people that just, don't know. But, did we come up with evidence? Yeah, we came up with a lot of stuff. I mean, what do you think we do? Sit around, just look at the letter and sleep all day? I mean, this is the documentary comes out about a letter. We get it from an investigative reporter. Russ Poole sees it. I see it. An attorney sees it. Of course, we're going to check out the documentary evidence. And so to say, is there? Yes. But have we made that available to the public? The answer to that question is not all of it. Not really. Because as in any investigation, I mean, look at how we got flamed on the letter itself. We put the letter out to people we could trust, the LAPD. What's the next thing that happens? Kading and his crew flip it out to the public and start making a bunch of that, and then they put out some crackpot video with a fat going, they killed Tupac. Okay.
She forgot. What was
Right.
what was the letter? What was the letter about? How did it go? How did it go? What was it? Great Kading said. What was the letter about?
Tupac.
Tupac.
They killed Tupac. That's just that she was melting into her own goo, I think, at that point. So at any rate, and that's what happened. So the answer to your question is, do we have the data? Yeah, we got a lot of the data. Are we sharing it? Hell no. We got burned last time. If I've got data that I think is hot and may lead to a clue or may lead to something that may get us where we need to go, you think I'm going to tell anybody about it? You think I'm going to actually blab it out and say, oh, yeah, by the way, okay?
No.
Okay? That we are not going to do that because I got burned so bad with the confession letter itself. I mean, you got to understand something. We were so careful with that confession letter that we were not going to even name names in Tupac 187. The only reason we bothered to was because by that time it was public knowledge. We weren't even going to mention Pattons. We weren't going to mention Little Half Dead. We weren't going to mention anything by names. We were going to do the whole
just keep
Terry Swan thing, the whole Teresa Swan thing.
Yeah, keep it a mystery,
okay? To keep the names private, but just talk about the events and what was mentioned in the letter. But if you guys think, and I'm sorry, but I love you knuckleheads, but if you guys think that for a minute I'm just going to start blabbing out on a YouTube channel all the evidence and documents that we have and that we're following up on, or that, no, hell no, okay? And we are not going to, and we're going to keep moving in a certain direction about it. And again, now, does that mean that the confession letter is true, that it's valid, that it is, or that it's going to lead to anything? I don't know. Maybe it won't. I don't know. But until I know for sure, I sure as hell am not going to give somebody the opportunity. And that's kind of like, Kazi, you may have that slide or may not have that slide of the letter from the Vegas PD where they said we're not going to release our documents because we do not want to alert the persons of interest.
Yeah, let me see if I can find that while you're talking.
Okay, they do not want to alert the persons of interest. Similarly, if there is something I think, okay, so like, for example, I'll use a crazy example. Like, I may have a lead on the murder weapon. Okay, completely crazy example. I may have a lead on the murder weapon. Do you think I'm going to tell you what my lead is, or where I think the murder weapon might be, or who I might think has the murder weapon? Hell no, because the next thing is going to happen is they're going to go try to find the person that's got the murder weapon and either kill him or try to do something to take it away. Okay? That's what I'm talking about, okay? I had to use that as a silly example. But ultimately, whatever leads that we have, unfortunately, would I like to share it with you? Bandstore, great question. Would I love to share it with you? Of course I'd like to share it with you. I'm a transparent person. I usually, you know what I'm thinking about a lot of stuff, okay? So that's why, especially in the scandalous environment, listen, here's the deal. We got these cats on the run because we have unequivocally proven that Vegas PD was not looking at, nor are they looking at, Orlando Anderson as a suspect, no matter what the hell Keith Davis says in his cockamamie bullshit story, okay? That we now have from various places that they've tripped. We already know they shit all over the story of Orlando Anderson. They've changed it 50 times. We know it's not anything like what it was originally. And how many lies have been in the middle of that? Oh, the chain snatch happened that day. Oh, no, it did. It happened at the Foot Locker. Oh, no, it did. It happened in the parking lot outside the Foot Locker. Oh, no, it did. It happened. Yeah. Okay? We've crushed that. We have absolutely crushed that.
Is
Okay?
that the document,
now,
RJ?
Now they're in trouble. Now they're sitting around. Now they're in trouble because they don't have any place to go. If Orlando Anderson is burnt as a suspect, They can sit there and keep claiming that it is, and that Vegas police doesn't know what they're doing and isn't doing their jobs. That's the best they're going to be able to come up with now. That's it. That's all they can come up with.
Like
Okay?
Tupac.
Yeah, Tupac. I wish I could put that back out again. That'd be like my meme. All right. So, but yes. Okay. Thank you for finding the
We'll
letter.
get some T-shirts
This is
made.
dated not even 2 years ago, just a little over 2 years ago. Vegas Police Department. We are working the case, but disclosing the investigative records may alert persons of interest or possible suspects of the investigation and investigative leads which could cause the destruction or concealment of evidence or other circumvention of the investigation. If they thought the dead guy'd do it, why the fuck would they put this letter out?
Yeah, and
Okay?
persons is plural too. So if you believe it's Keith Davis, then there must be
Yeah.
somebody else.
Yeah. I'm sorry. All the other dead persons.
Oh yeah, they're gonna
right?
dig him up and yeah.
All the other dead, the whole dead crowd. They're going to alert the whole dead. They're going to go wake up the graveyard. Okay. They're going to alert the graveyard about it. Okay. So ultimately, this is why I'm saying, and it's wise for us to do the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I'll say this much: I've been thinking about Frank's death a little bit over the last, and maybe we'll leave it with this.
All right.
I've been thinking about Frank's death, and I've been thinking about the circumstances surrounding Frank's death and how I fought hard to get the police report on his death. And I filed a Freedom of Information Act. I filed other things about it. I filed those things. Now, I've heard Kathy Scott say that she got a copy of it. I don't know that I believe that.
Okay.
I've certainly never seen it. I'd love for somebody, if a knucklehead can get a hold of her, try to find out if she does and prove that she did, because I'd like to know how she got it. And they fought me all the way to the city attorney's office and a subpoena that I got from the court to give me a copy of it, and they still fought the subpoena. Okay, so in terms of getting that information, I've been thinking about that and how hard they had to fight me on it. And of course, and this is something that people need to understand, that oftentimes a suicide can be called a suicide. It can be determined to be a suicide. It's often not proven to be a suicide until the coroner's report comes back, the autopsy report comes back. The police can call it a suicide, and they can say it's presumed to be a suicide, but ultimately, and sometimes even the coroner's report's not conclusive about it, so they say that's what they call it. They call it a suicide. Ruling it a suicide might be something more than an autopsy or coroner might be able to ruin it and say absolutely without any problem there. Frank had insurance policies that had been many, many years in existence, so they were well past the suicide clause. It wouldn't have stopped Debbie or anybody else from getting paid on the insurance. So there wasn't a lot of reason to question or challenge that, but it got me thinking that, and again, maybe this is a little tinfoil hatty. I would like you knuckleheads to think of it more as somebody who dearly loved his friend and would like to think that maybe there was something more to it than what it is, because obviously, like a lot of people, I would like to think that Frank would not have taken his own life if it wasn't necessary. And yet I wonder to myself sometimes, knowing what I'm reading in this Vegas police letter, that it would have been very easy upon learning that Frank Alexander had passed away, for whatever the reasons were, and that it was called a suicide, that maybe Vegas police had asked the Murrieta Police Department, that's the police department that has jurisdiction over the over Frank's file, to actually withhold and not comment or not release, even to somebody like me, not release important paperwork, because if there might have been a question, and I don't want to fuel a lot of speculation by saying this, but I'm just wondering out loud, that maybe that Frank's information about Frank wasn't as conclusive as it could have been. Maybe it, I mean, I told everybody in no certain terms what I thought happened, but it could not happen that way too. Okay, I could be wrong. I don't have the report to know, or the autopsy report or the coroner's report to find out what the investigation yielded. And maybe all I'm saying is that in light of that letter from the Vegas PD, maybe there's a reason that they won't let me see, or anybody else see, those results. Because let's just say, for argument's sake, what if it was tied to some bigger thing? What if Frank's death was somehow related in some way or another to something else? Okay. If you were the law enforcement agency that would be concerned about that, would you allow that information to get out? No. You'd hold on to it. Okay. You would ask the other police departments, the other law enforcement agencies, to keep that information away from the public, so that that way, as per that letter, anybody that might be involved with it might find out. I mean, they could be lying to all of us. They could call it a suicide. They may know it's a homicide. They can call it a suicide because they don't want anybody knowing that, because they think it's a homicide, anybody needs to be concerned about it. If they just say it's a suicide, then whoever might have been part of it thinks they got away with it. Okay? Simple. Okay?
So
But it does give me cause to think.
so nobody would be able to get the report. Nobody. No, I mean,
At this point, I haven't tried in a couple of years.
you think it might be worth a shot? Maybe trying it again and seeing if you're able to obtain that report.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I could try,
Mm-hmm.
but it opens up a lot of old wounds. So it's something that maybe, for the sake of the next project I'm working on, maybe I will.
Mm-hmm.
But it definitely causes some, it causes some agita. That's to say the least. And again, the more noise I make about it, and the more noise I make about what I just said, clearly there's going to be people, that, I don't want, if it was that, I don't want the people that were responsible for it suddenly thinking that people are looking around their trash cans, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, so that's why I keep that quiet. Excuse me. So at any rate, I'm going to jump on that because that's such a lovely high note to jump off on, right? Such a positive, upbeat thing. But that's why we keep looking, guys. That's why we keep looking straight up, okay? And question everything. That's all I got to say. So let's call it for that. Let's call it a night. And what do you think, Kazi? You think you can wrap it up with the goodbye?
Oh yeah.
And, and I'll jump.
Yeah,
All right, guys?
that's my forte.
We can't do it without you. Bottom line, we can't do it without you guys. Need the knuckleheads. We got to double the number of knuckleheads, though, because, it's great that we got 35, 40 people watching it. Let's get 50, 60 people. Let's get 70 people. Let's get 1,000 people watching it, okay? We can't make things happen without that kind of a crowd. We need to do it. So I trust on my knuckleheads. Let's get it going.
Yep.
Tell your friends. Tell your family. We're here, and we're putting it out.
Tell your friends, tell your best friends, tell their best friends to
Tell everybody. That's right. Tell everybody. Tell your dog. Tell your cat. Whoever we can to turn on the channel.
Yeah.
We'll get J-Mix in there to start promoting it, because I know that there are probably people that watch his channel that didn't even know.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll work on it.
Yeah,
sure.
we'll try to.
Just tell your friends.
We'll try to get that special interview with the dog that found the Glock.
Yes, we can do that. Okay, Wolfie, what do you think about that? Yeah, sounds good to me. I like it.
All right, RJ.
I like it a lot. All right, buddy.
Thanks, man.
We'll talk soon. Take care, guys. Bye.
See ya. All right. Well, that's the show. We went for 2 hours and 7 minutes, as you can see. Man, RJ was he was on a run tonight. He was just fluid. He was going at it, just continuously, just didn't stop. Just, I mean, if you didn't think tonight was a good show, I mean, golly, I would have a difference in opinion. But he basically just went from one subject matter to another subject matter to another subject matter fluidly. So anyhow, I'll summarize it for anybody who just joined the show, who was here, or who wasn't here rather. Basically, we talked about the what did we talk about? We talked about the Sun article about Tupac and Suge Knight's interaction, as far as Suge Knight claiming, or at least the author wrote that in the article, that Tupac and him were laughing and joking in the hospital. I mean, I think we've heard that story when they were in the car, but this story says that they were laughing and joking inside the hospital. But we also played the clip for Mopreme, and Mopreme was saying that they had to put Tupac on a respirator because of his lung condition. Of course, he had the injury to the lung from the bullet that actually hit his finger and went to his lung and punctured it. So I think he was in pretty bad condition when he was in the hospital. They had to sedate him, and then, of course, he died several days later. And then we talked about the royal family, and I'll put the royal family up there one more time just to end it. Not to end it, but just to give you some sequence here. So the royal family is, they got a record coming out, M00d Swings, that's going to be coming out June 19th, which is tomorrow. They have a track that is in the airways. They're from Austin, Texas. The single is called Man With No Plan. I'll leave a link in the description. So open the links up, check them out, support their movement. Then you can follow them at Instagram, official Prince OJ Money, and the link will be in the description as well. So M00d Swings, they wrote a few songs for the movement, and they were actually the before the Ahmaud Arbery tragic murder of him. So check that out. Support them. Support their movement. And every week we'll have a different artist that we'll promote. I won't play any of their songs because I'll get a copyright strike, but I'll be more than welcome to leave a link in the description so you can actually get there and listen to their music. So we'll have more artists. If you have a track that you'd like to promote, we can certainly do that. And also remember too that on agreements with RJ, we can go ahead and post that track on Spotify because there's not those kind of worries as far as getting a copyright strike with Spotify. So actually we have a whole lot more, I would say, coverage, so to speak, than YouTube. YouTube is kind of censored based, so Spotify you have a little bit more leeway on what you can put out on the airwaves, so to speak. So that'll be that. And then also to finish summarizing, we talked about the Gobi, about the estate, about Tupac, the footage being lost, and Tracy Robinson, and basically Gobi, pretty much kind of tricked his way into having her sign her rights over or whatnot. So he ended up getting paid $250,000 from the Tupac estate, and they now have the Tupac footage that was supposed to be used for the Seventh Day movie that was supposed to come out, I think, several years ago. And he actually, now that I think about it, he had started a Kickstarter movement to get some money so that he could make the movie. And I don't know if that didn't pan out very well because the movie never came out. So that was that. And that was pretty much it. And I'll play let me see. I'll see if I can play the Mopreme. Well, no, I won't play the Mopreme clip. Just if you go back into the live stream, I can put a timestamp on it, and you can listen to the Mopreme interview. It's about 30 seconds, and he'll talk about Tupac's physical state in the hospital. And I think that's pretty much it for the night. There's not much more than that. Of course, we talked about somebody, whoever those people are, that were releasing Tupac tracks or whatnot. I can't verify who that was, but I think I have an idea of who was doing that. So, but I can't make any allegations. So, but if the shoe fits, then you wear it. So, I think that's pretty much it, guys. I just want to give a shout out to everybody who came in tonight to listen to the live stream. We have Yeezy 808, Realize, Tammy Frazier, Miss Machiavelli 187, all the way from Dublin. We also have Gallobito. I don't know where you're from. I would assume you're either from Spain or from Mexico, or maybe you're from South America. I don't want to be assumptuous. We also have I Buy Houses. As always, you're here. You represent the channel. We appreciate that. And I think I want to say you're from Arizona, but could be wrong. Kevin James, thank you for being here. And then we have also Jake Style, thank you for being here. Band Store, thank you. Gino Mouton, as always, appreciate you being here. Easy Work. We also have Ryan Gregory. I've seen you around. Jay Roast is here. Stephen Perry, thank you for the super chat earlier. We appreciate it. We're going to try to start at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, and then get an earlier start so you guys can get some sleep earlier. So I think that's it. Other than that, everybody, Like I said, appreciate you. JSCAT, Sasquatch, thank you for coming in too. Appreciate you. All you guys, we appreciate you all. And if I forgot who to mention you, just know you're appreciated. We try to keep it festive. We try to keep it good. And we have a lot more we're going to talk about. We weren't really going to go over the MGM Grand footage. We kind of feel like that's kind of been played out a little bit. And then there are just a lot of things that we actually talk about that we can actually speak, that I can actually speak about. I don't give away too much, and I don't want to give away too much, but we have a lot of things coming down the pipeline, and pretty much that's just the way it goes. So anyhow, I want to thank everybody for being here. Like I said, Mood Swings, Royal Family, June 19th, Man with No Plan. Go check them out. And then I'll leave you with this, as I always do, folks. Always seek the truth, no matter where it takes you. And rest in peace, Frank Alexander. And rest in peace, Tupac. And if you didn't celebrate his birthday yesterday, then it's a belated birthday for Tupac. So anyhow, have a good night, folks.